around American flag because that's what America's supposed to be. It's supposed to look like permanently chill.
The insurance commercial has a fat ass, but like no personality.
Yeah, I feel like sitting here and listening to this.
No, god damn it. Isaac, New Noise is not the first fucking refused album.
Rip Isaac a new one today. Do you know what I mean? Like...
Don't touch my records. Ever.
And I believe everyone should be able to see us and hear. There we go. Hey, welcome to Hot Takes, guys. Hot Takes is a Hot Takes is a vaporwave talk show starring myself and
It's me, Skeleton.
Sorry,
Christopher Smith.
Christopher Smith. We're here. We are here to argue, debate, converse, query, and geek out about art and music with you guys. If it's the first time for any of y'all, Hot Takes is a very interactive show. You are free to type any question you have that you want to pose to me, Chris, or our special guest today, Angel Marcloid. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Of Fire-Toolz, Mindspring Memories, Toad Computers, Non-Local Forecast, I believe, and several other amazing acts. We are extremely excited to have Angel with us today. If you cannot hear either of us, or either of us is too loud, if the music is too loud or too quiet, we need y'all's help to let me know what I need to do to make it better. And thank you, last of all, to Tech Honors for rating us, and to Indie Advent for his consistent help. Let me turn this Rilo Kiley song off, Indy. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about a hot take for today.
You want me to do the hot take, or do you want to do a music rec?
No, actually, that's a good idea. Let's do the music rec first, because the hot take can go right in. Yeah, sorry. So we don't plan this stuff out, y'all. This is live. So
why would we plan it? It's less fun that way.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to turn you guys on to a lesser-known vaporwave artist that combines vaporwave and breakbeat. We all know probably, and many of us love Sierra Mist, Sewer Slut, and a handful of artists that combine breakbeat with vaporwave. But I've discovered an artist a couple years ago from Prague that goes by System ST91.
Ooh.
If you haven't heard System ST91, Skelly's a bit low. Thank you, Samurai Kid. I'll turn him up right now. At System ST91, you can find he's an excellent graphic designer as well. He does the artwork. Let's see, Chris is all the way up. We'll figure that out. He does the artwork for his releases. Yeah, maybe turn yourself up while I'm... Yeah, let us know, Daniel or anyone else. System ST91 has a handful of breakbeat-inspired vaporwave albums that draw heavily from like video game. He really likes the Toomba games, and he does a lot of like Sonic the Hedgehog and like Super Mario kind of influenced vibes. But it's extremely lush. It's all original compositions, which not necessarily better or worse, but I think we love the FM Skylines and the Windows 96s of the scene. You can kind of lump System ST91 in with them, with a little bit of that the drum and bass vibe. I just bought my third album by the guy. I think it's a guy. Probably shouldn't assume that, but I just bought my third album by him, and it's amazing. It's called Vapor Zip. So I highly recommend you guys, if you like breakbeat, if you like vaporwave, if you like lush beats with vocal samples, check out System ST91. Good stuff. If anyone here is a fan or has heard of him, please sound off. And
right.
With our hot take of the day.
All right, how are we doing, guys? So my hot take is going to be about just continuing something that I said on Twitter, which is it is one thing to be a good producer. It is one thing to be an extremely innovative producer, but it is 100% a total different skill set to be a really good DJ. You know, you could be making dance music, you could be producing really fantastic stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good DJ. That's a whole other skill set. You have to really understand the importance of moving and generating an entire crowd to move along with you when you DJ. You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
Isaac is maybe one of the best DJs that I know personally, and definitely the best DJ in vaporwave.
Oh.
And the thing that Isaac is really great at doing is curating an experience and moving the people and the feelings along with him. Sometimes I have artists that are great producers, and they get up there and they're just kind of playing whatever they want to play, and that is fine if you are playing a show. But when you're doing a dance party, it's not about you anymore. It's about the audience. You are to curate something that moves an entire audience. You're supposed to read the crowd and the vibe of a large group of people, right?
That's really
the difference
hard.
Between, yeah, it is, and it's like you have to be keeping an eye on how the energy and the again, I'll use the word vibes of how everything moves along, and how if you can't control a large crowd and keep them on dance floors and keep them excited, and also, you know, play with them as well, like bring a little bit of an experimental song in once in a while, but you have to know when the right time to play it is, not just because you felt like it. You have to do it at the right time. You know, you have to earn an audience trust when you're DJing, right, to keep them there. It's not like performing a show. Performing a show, it's about the performer. A party is about the audience, and that's like a big distinction I want to make to people. You know, sometimes I get people who really want to, you know, DJ terminally chill, and like they could be the greatest producer ever, but if they don't know how to DJ, and I don't mean just mix, and I don't mean just beat match or put things here, if they don't know how to work the crowd and move the crowd and keep people on the dance floor, you can't do it.
I imagine a lot of people are really rusty after this pandemic too.
Well, oh, for sure. And if you want to do it, like, you need to go to parties and stand in the back and watch what they're doing.
Yes, you do.
What the DJs are doing. Even if it's not the music you like, right? But it is something to be said about watching how they organize their sets and, you know, translate that vibe into what you're doing as well. So, you know, my recommendation, particularly to future funk producers, you know, who are definitely making dance music, is like, you guys got to get out there in the world. You're going to have to go and see what DJs do, and you have to watch crowds and how they move, and think about what kind of frequencies they hear that makes them move. You know what I mean?
It is crazy seeing which songs actually work with audiences that you wouldn't think would, and vice versa, of course. Songs that you're sure are going to light up the dance floor, but people just don't. It doesn't compute.
There's really, like, you got to listen to, even if you go to a party, sometimes it's almost good to just listen to the BPMs that move people, and actually even the frequencies themselves, like this bass frequency right here, or this rhythm of the drum right here. People seem to really respond to that. So even if it's not your kind of music, you can go back to your catalog of whatever genre you're in and find an equivalent of something that's similar but, you know, but different. But there's always parallels to be drawn by things, you know, no matter, you know, you can't, you know, even if it's completely different than what you do. But, you know, I specifically refer to Terminally Chill as a dance party, right? It's not a show. Sometimes people say, can I play this show?
Right.
And I'm like, this isn't a show. We're not in a basement. This isn't a club. These people are dancing. There's a disco ball. This isn't about you. It's about the people who come. You know what I mean? It's about the community that forms around the DJ, right?
The people that
That's
come
like the great
loyally.
thing about, oh, yeah. Well, the people who come loyally are the people who step in out of nowhere and have never even heard of vaporwave. Don't know who you are. You might have, like, I don't know, fucking like 100,000 listens in Spotify today and blah, 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 but they may not know that at all. That's spread across the world. You need to convert people, right? People go to a dance party and they kind of just walk off the street and come into it. Or maybe they're used to that club and they just go to that club all the time. It's not a show. It's not a show. I specify that all the time, that this is a different arm of vaporwave. It's a different tentacle of vaporwave. It makes the whole movement stronger by doing different things, right?
True.
So, you know, if you want to play Terminally Chill, just go to dance parties, see what they're doing, come to Terminally Chill, see what I'm doing, what Fantacat is doing, what other people who DJ do. Like, I've had, like, some of my best DJs at Terminally Chill are people that nobody even knows, right? But they, like, do a crazy job on the dance floor.
You were at the Super Party Ball that just went down, weren't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe I saw a picture with you and Molotovich, actually. I was very jealous.
Yeah,
I would love to meet the homie Molotovich.
I wish you could have been there.
Actually, I think Rainy Cakes might be in chat right now.
Rainy Cakes, they were such sweet people. Wonderful individuals. Had such a nice time. I was so happy they could come out. It was really nice that Toto Sky from Virtua 94 was able to meet them ahead of time.
Toto Sky was out there. Nice.
Oh, well, it was Virtual 94. He's
Right.
the co-owner with Hideyoshi.
Was
And, he able
was
to
Mr.
pick it out.
Hideyoshi there, or Shoji, or
Of course. Oh,
Yeah?
yeah. Shoji was there. Hideyoshi was there. James from DDS stopped by.
I
for a
saw
little
that
bit.
too.
I was there.
I'm jealous
If
of
you guys
you,
know
man.
Kelsey from Twitter, she was there.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of people. A lot of people. Paranormal was there.
Damn. I'm so glad you guys got to have that experience. Hello, Groovy Kaiju, by the way. Groovy says hi. He's got to help with some family stuff, but he's watching on
love
YouTube,
him.
and he wanted to stop by and say
Love
hi.
you, Groovy.
And he loves
Love
all
him
of us,
so much.
you, me, and Angel,
New
and
album
everyone
out,
in the chat.
coming out from him.
He does.
Can't wait.
Yeah, very excited. He actually has a clip. Did you know this? He has a clip from the Hot Takes ad in his album.
He told me, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I still want to collab with him
Too
at some
cool.
point. I just got to get my schedule down a little bit more. Almost there.
You are a busy man. I am not as busy as I was.
I'm shipping it away, man.
You
I'm
poor
shipping
thing.
it away.
You poor thing.
Almost done.
But we can save that
Almost
for
done.
the end of the broadcast.
Yeah, of course.
Might be a good time, unless I didn't want to cut you off. Maybe you could play some
We're
System
done. Let's bring it on.
ST91 on your next DJ set. But anyways,
Sure, I can't wait to check them out, man.
one other question. Is there going to be a Terminally Chill Philly edition coming back anytime soon?
So I literally just got an email from the guy Ravi, who owns the Barbary, which is where we throw the party at. He says that they're going to be finishing up the refurbishing soon, and he told me to start keeping
Sick.
my weeks open because he's going to be
Sick.
talking to me soon. So yeah, we should be having Terminally Chill in Philadelphia soon. We have obviously
Very
July
excited,
30th. We
man.
have the one in Davis, California, up in NorCal Bay Area region. But yeah, the Philly one should be coming back sooner than later. Yeah, we might do a little outdoor thing too. So stay tuned.
I can't wait till I can go up there, man. But all right, thank you very much
Can't
for
wait to have
that.
you, buddy.
We want to talk to Angel. Everybody wants to know what Angel has to say tonight. Angel has promised to destroy both of us tonight. So I don't know about you, but I'm really excited. Angel, why don't we clear off this static and bring you on? Go ahead and unmute yourself. What's up?
Hello.
What's up, Angel? Thank you for coming on. Can't wait
Yeah,
to speak to you. Yeah.
What do you think about what Dr. Chris had to say about the experience of having to keep a crowd engaged? Because you played a lot of different shows as a lot of different instrumentalists, employing a lot of different tools and instruments. What do you think about what he said?
I think everything that was said is correct, but I don't know that from personal experience doing it myself, because I've always kind of had this tendency to sort of derail that sort of thing, especially with Fire-Toolz.
Absolutely.
Anytime I played any sort of show with like great DJs and like techno and house oriented, even like gabber and hardcore, like anything like that, anytime I play a show like that, when it's like filled with ravers and I go on and it's like people flip out for like the
Right.
5.5 seconds that dance part's happening, and then I just start doing something else, and there'll be like 10 minutes of just abstract noise, and it's just like these people are standing there like, this is weird, and I'm on drugs, so it's cool, but like, I don't know, I want to dance, and then and so
Right.
I don't know, I really admire people that want to craft a set or an album to like be super engaging and to like get people going. You're right, like DJing as a whole other world, and I mean, I can't do it at all. I mean, I haven't really tried that hard, but I mean,
Oh,
I
you would
can't
master it
just,
in like 2 hours.
I mean, if I practice, but that's the thing, like, just because you know how to use a DAW and make electronic music or whatever it is, like, doesn't mean you know how to DJ.
True.
And
It's a weird thing. It's even if you know how to make dance music, sometimes it doesn't even mean that you know how to DJ. I remember when I before I started DJing, I just spent a lot of time going to the parties and figuring out what moved me and keeping an eye on what moved other people and thinking, when you DJ, it's no longer about you. I would fucking love to throw on Fire-Toolz. It's
Right.
one of my favorite. I don't mean to gush, but Fire-Toolz is one of my favorite acts, and but I can't play that I can't play that at Terminally Chill, even though it's a vaporwave dance party. I can
one
edit
of these
it a little
days,
bit.
I'm gonna put together a little compilation after my next album comes out of like a dance collection, because I do have
fun.
a couple songs that like
Fun.
maintain a pretty hard beat for like most of the songs. They're rare, but they exist, and I'd like to do more of them.
One thing I
There's
can
couples
do.
you might be
Oh,
able to-
fun! I would love to. I would be honored to hear them. Thank you very much. One of the things I can do occasionally is edit songs and put them into a dance format, not like straight up. Like,
true.
turning
Yeah.
it into some electronic thing, but I can incorporate certain parts into other songs. You can layer things. The nice thing about DJing is you can layer, right? You can beat match.
Yeah.
You can layer. You can isolate parts of the songs and put it as a clip over top something. And so that's always an option that I kind of do sometimes. And the hope, though, when I do Terminally Chill, is that it will bring people in who don't really know about vaporwave because it's a dance party. You know, it might be some art students that thought this was a very interesting thing to go to because they're looking for something unique to dance to, right? And they'll go home, they'll learn what vaporwave is, and then they'll type it into the computer and they'll just spiral into all the different sounds, textures, and ideas that are incorporated in the scene. And, you know, they'll find out about maybe about the artists that maybe aren't necessarily the easiestly accessible, but you know, they're probably kind of arty people in the first place if they were at that party. So, you know, I that's the goal of it, kind of, is just to promulgate all artists in the scene. And this.
I
kind of
agree,
Yeah,
and a
I
lot of the
agree.
people. I'm sorry, Angel. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. You know, I'm the guest, so.
Hey, so you get the main spotlight.
No, I'm sorry. I just didn't know you were gonna go next. I forgot there was 3 people here. I just got excited. But yeah,
It's okay.
you can go after me.
Let's do it.
I, despite what I said a minute ago, I still get a really positive response because I think people are just interested in what was happening. So you know, I've never gotten like booed off stage or anything.
Thank God for
people
that.
come up to me and they're just like, "Wow, that was crazy," and I'm just like, I feel bad for not like making you dance for that long, and they're just like, "No, it was so awesome." So I'm just
Right. It's more of like an experience, and thankfully a lot of the vaporwave people are already open-minded and are already dipping their toes into all kinds of other weird non-vapor music anyways.
That's the thing.
I imagine
like
people are
nobody,
very receptive.
So this is a big trend with a lot of vaporwave, particularly is that nobody really starts with vaporwave, or if they do, then that would be a new thing that's just happening now. But most people who come to vaporwave, they start in many other places, and they don't even just start in one place. They start
so many other places. I've
so
known
many other places.
and it's so cool. You can come from anywhere. Like, I have friends who I was like making noise music with for years, and they got way into vaporwave, and I was so surprised because it was like melodic.
Very euphonic.
So I was surprised they would like it, and because it had structure. But they were into it because it was like weird, and they're into weird stuff, and they perceive it as being like strange, like probably mainly the sample-based stuff. But then, there's people from. I mean, there are people that run vaporwave labels that are their main thing as a black metal band. You know,
like Winter Quilt.
and they're Quilt, and there's somebody who runs a label. It's the same way. I don't know. I think they're kind of like a mysterious black metal band, so I don't want to say who it is.
Oh, you don't want to dox anybody. I
No
got
worries,
you.
no worries.
Respect.
But he was doing that for a really long time, and then like had this like discovered vaporwave and was just like, what the hell, and like got fascinated with it, and is now putting out like slushwave albums, and it's just really interesting because
It's so cool to watch people.
Wouldn't expect it.
There's a lot of punk rock people in the scene too. Somebody in the chat, Dusto915, my buddy Dustin. Lots of punk rock people in the scene. He's in a punk band actually, I think. So, but maybe it's
great
obvious.
that it's getting too obvious to say that there's a connection between vaporwave and punk. I love that. It's like, we all know that.
It's more an ideology, not necessarily
of course.
sound. It's not like vaporwave sounds like the Ramones or anything.
Right.
No. It's the spirit of punk rock. That's the thing that I think people very much understand. The idea of creating a network of people, the idea of doing something rebellious, the idea of taking charge of your situation and making your own scene with connections across the country and the globe, producing your own. It's the DIY ethic that's birthed from the punk and hardcore era. You know what I mean? It's that same spirit.
Absolutely.
But the other thing about the vaporwave people is that not only do they know about like the genre that they originally came from, but they've usually probably spent a lot of time. They're savants. They've spent a lot of time studying multiple different genres, and usually multiple different type of outsider genres or alternative subgenres. I know that myself and Isaac, and I'm positive you as well, and probably most people in the chat, spent a lot of time maybe learning about different sorts of like the boards of Canada or other kinds of experimental electronic music, and then they delved into punk to understand what the important punk artists were. Then they would go into like techno, probably learn about a few techno artists that were important to the scene. They spent a lot of time learning about, I don't know anybody who's in vaporwave that also isn't like, oh yeah, My Bloody Valentine, oh shoegaze, and then it can go off on like a 10-minute conversation
absolutely.
about all their favorite shoegaze bands. Everybody's looking.
So many shoegazers
everybody involved in vaporwave. A lot of people in vaporwave are very interested in artists that have pushed sonic boundaries and like studying them and studying their movements, and then they find vaporwave and like, oh, my own movement. Oh, this is my own movement now that I can be a part of, just like I studied when I was like learning about freaking like Steve Albini's bands or whatever. You know what I mean? They're like, I was like, most people in vaporwave were like, I've been waiting for a movement that could be mine. I mean, that's how I felt at least when it started.
I think that vaporwave is a very it originated sort of based on other styles of music, and now it's to the point where you can do it in so many different ways, and it is something that is it doesn't have it doesn't have an original sound. It wasn't like a new emerging sound. It was more the approach and the process and the aesthetic that was like kind of a new idea. The actual sound of vaporwave, I don't even think, like as far as like moving compositions, that was not intended with any of the earliest artists. I don't think most of them were trying to like make a really good composed song. I think they were just trying to convey a vibe and like a feeling and an idea.
I could agree any more. Absolutely.
But now it's to the point where people are like trying to make like really good songs and programming it all with MIDI and like, like using their talent to like, build something from the ground up. And that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't really know why I started saying that. I had a really good idea for saying that. It was so related to what you were saying, but I don't know.
We'll get back to it. It might come back.
We won't. We'll move on.
We can move on. Absolutely.
Angel, I have a question for you. Do you have a favorite of all time act or album or genre or anything? Anyone? I know that's such a hard question.
No, like no way, because I can't. Okay,
it's too hard, right?
This cool person who's like compiling this book of people's like top 10s, top 20s, whatever they want to make. He hit me up for my contribution, and it took me a year to be able to do it. At first, I kind of decided against it. I was like, I can't go through this, because anytime anybody wants me to do something like this, I spend hours and hours on it and switching things out for other things, and there's just no way. Like, I feel things so strongly. Like music is almost like an attack on my nervous system. It affects me so much. So it's just like there's so much music out there that has moved me so deeply and shaken me up almost. So it's like there's just no way.
How do you pick one?
You just pick one that you like right now.
One that wasn't like an absolute favorite. If I was just to pick up,
it's too hard, huh?
My brain is breaking now. I don't know because I want it to be a really good thing to pick. That would be like the best artist album to discuss on the show, but I don't know.
You don't have to. It's fine.
No pressure.
You don't have to answer that question. If you wanted to, you could answer. You could just say something you've been listening to lately that has moved you. It doesn't have. It's just a lately one.
Okay.
That's what I do for myself.
Me too,
bro.
I
can't answer that question either. Whenever people ask me that, I qualify it with, well, lately I like this. This has been this week. That's
like
how I get around that answer.
And what I would like to know is how did you...
the same way that you do about music.
This lately that you've been into, I want to know your story about how you found them. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear that story. You know what I mean?
Okay, so maybe it'll... Okay. All right. So in 1993, when I was... How old was I? 9. This song came on the radio. My parents listened to rock radio, and it just like threw me through a loop. I was like, wow, this is freaking crazy. And I didn't know who it was, and I remember being at my aunt's house on Easter and sneaking downstairs in the basement and calling the radio station and trying to describe the song and not knowing if they understood who I was talking about, but they told me who it was. They're like,
Wow.
it's called Hash. It's a self-titled album. And, you know, I'm
Wow.
9, so I don't know what hash means. So I tell my dad, I'm like, I gotta get the Hash CD. The song is crazy. I called the radio station. They said it was called Hash. Can you get the Hash CD? And like, I don't know, like maybe it was like roughly a month later, my dad got it for me. And it's just really awesome. All different styles of kind of like grunge adjacent, like alt rock, kind of
Okay.
post glam kind of thing. Because this was early '90s, so it was like rock, but there was some punk, there was some funk, there was some like blues, which I don't normally get that into, but it was just like really kind of unique stuff. So fast forward, you know, I'm like 37 now, and I'm, you know, just every once in a while I go back to that record and listen to it, and I decided, okay, I'm gonna look these people up for any press coverage or anything to see if they're still around. I want to tell them how much this album like means to me. And I did a lot of research, and there was like nothing on them except for a couple like sort of obscure articles. So I traced it down to like one person's like new band, possibly current band, and I went to their like Facebook and found an email, and then sent an email, and then like gave him a short story or whatever. And like a couple weeks later, one of them wrote back, the singer, and was like so delighted about it. And I'll
that's
just
so cool.
What a
I'll
beautiful
skip a ton of
story.
details. I'll fast forward to now. He is like an absurdly huge fan of my entire discography. He like
Unbelievable.
dove in and he
Wow.
like, sent me emails and emails of
Before
just
you reached out to him?
how no, that's insane. No, this was
But he got into it after you reached out to him.
That's
saying how
sick
much
as fuck.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know, like 50 something now, you know, and is so it's been like a really long time, but like now he's so into my stuff and like emails me questions about like lyrics and stuff like that, and like, you know, how I make stuff, and we've like talked on the phone and become like really close friends. So it's just
amazing.
So freaking strange, because this is like I'm 9 and like asking my dad to buy the CD, and this, it turns out they were only played on a few radio stations around the world, like
I never heard of them.
6 or 7 of them, not even like so it's like, and it's, you know, it's something that a lot of the people in the chat are gonna find completely irrelevant to them. They're not gonna really like it. There's it's like funk rock a lot of times, and like, you know,
like Les Claypool type stuff.
It's incredible though. It's incredible. There's a lot of jazz in there.
Hash.
Too.
Damn.
But yeah, the band is called Hash. It's a self-titled album. Everything on YouTube is like the shittiest rip possible, and it's not on streaming or anything. But if you want to go to YouTube and type in Hash and like the first,
I tried to get
one
them up on
CD
Spotify.
is,
I couldn't find them.
Do you mind linking
I was
it,
actually
Angel,
looking
if
them
it's
up on
not super
Spotify while we were
hard?
talking. I couldn't find them.
Yeah.
Lux found an
I mean,
Amazon
they had
link.
one album on like Elektra, and then, you know, they fulfilled their contract and left, and it was a bad experience for
Dustin
them.
says, "Is Mr. Hello one of their songs?" He's looking on YouTube.
Yes, that song is sick.
Oh,
you heard it from
we found it. All right.
The Wizard. Song
So-
is sick.
Can I ask a question, actually? Because this kind of like leads, because, you know, you mentioned hearing that band at a young age. I mean, I gotta buy this. This is kind of a random question, but when you were a kid growing up, is there like a particular song that your parents would play or that you'd hear on the radio when you were very young, before you even really thought about making music, that just sort of grabbed you, and maybe you even still think about time and time once in a while today? Like just something that happened, that like a musical experience that just sort of happened before you really even were processing music that much. You're like,
Well,
you like that song every time it came on.
I can answer this sort of, but there isn't really a time before I started making music, because when I was just old
I guess let's say before you had your
like,
musical voice.
when I was old enough to hold like 2 wooden spoons, I was playing music, but you know, like in my single digits, it's not like I have like a functioning band. I'm not like recording jams all the time. So
I
like,
may have always wanted to make music, but was there
Well,
something that
I'll
you
make
just
this really
incidentally moved
relevant to the subject of your podcast, vaporwave. I mean, this is why vaporwave I was so drawn to it, because the songs that people were sampling were songs that were new and on the radio when I was really tiny.
Right.
And if it wasn't songs that I've specifically, you know, heard it sounded like I did because there was so much music like that, because vaporwave was, you know, in the beginning sampling like really like intentionally generic kind of 80s music.
True.
And so slowing it down and adding effects to it and making it hazy and stuff is like, to me, it's kind of like you're like squeezing it and trying to like squeeze like more juice out of it by like giving it this alternate perspective.
Yeah,
by,
so
you know,
I
Giving it new life.
treatment.
When I think of the echo jams, I always think of them as a way that, as sort of almost a metaphor for how memory works. Whereas you don't always remember the whole song, you remember the part that's most salient to you, and it's a memory, so it's degraded a little bit. It's off. It doesn't sound the right way that it used to when you would hear it directly on the radio, and you have to travel through your memory to even find it. And that traveling warps it. Adds where the reverb and all the slowing down. I don't know. That's kind of how I always see it, like a fragment of a memory, right? And that's kind of all that we have left at the end of the day. And with everything we experience, it's a fragment of a memory.
And sometimes dreams are involved in that, which is what I think a lot of the aesthetic with vaporwave comes from, at least with the ambient stuff. And in the origination of dream punk, I mean, you know, just, you know, dreams. Like it sounds dreamy. Like even if you don't put a bunch of reverb and delay on something, even if you just like slow it down a bunch and play it back, it has a dreamy quality because it sounds kind of like warped. And like sometimes in your dreams things are like going really slow, or you can't go as fast as you want to and you're trying to, you know,
right, like when you can't run away.
Yeah, I totally feel that statement. Very hard.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
My friend in the chat said my favorite part of vaporwave is the frequency shift, and yeah, I really agree with that. Except the problem is like you got to be careful, because then if you look at a frequency spectrum when you're working on your song, you'll notice all the way up at the top near 20 kilohertz at the top of the spectrum, there'll be this nasty noise that'll start to creep in because you're taking the song and shifting the frequency spectrum, and then
the audio engineer speaking right now.
I was gonna say, here go the genius.
Shows up. So
Here's
cut that shit out, people.
Cut that shit out,
because
people.
I am tired of mastering your shit with that 20K screeching in my ear.
Wow.
Oh man.
Yeah, just guys, find the frequency band, lower the band, find out which one it is, bring it down.
I do it if you don't do it, and you all don't know I'm doing it, but I always do it. So.
Thank you for doing it.
Thank God for people like you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. What's interesting to me sometimes, vaporwave is very, very interesting, particularly when you are playing with something that is sampled and then also using live, like, you know, actual instrumentation as well. And I like the idea of creating a confusion between what is a sample, what is original instrumentation, and what is maybe just your memory or your imagination adding something and you don't even know it. You know, I like that concept.
I never thought of that.
Those lines. That's cool. I try to keep them separate a lot of times for some reason.
You do that,
I love the aesthetic of sample-based music and just the way it sounds. And when I make like original compositions where I'm playing most of the instruments or whatever, for some reason I don't want to layer in a sample from another song. I mean, I've done it, you know, maybe in Fire-Toolz songs, probably more so in the past, but maybe a total of like 5 or 6 times I'll, you know, sample a filtered measure of a jazz song and like layer it in with my beat and my melody or something like that. But I don't really do that anymore.
Interesting.
So if I do a sample-based thing in Fire-Toolz, which is rare, I'll make it like almost entirely. Like as like an echo jam, basically.
Yeah, most of your sample-based material is the Mindspring Memories and Toad computers and stuff. No?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fire-Toolz is mostly original compositions.
Most of Skeleton Lipstick is original compositions. But occasionally I'll throw in a sample in the middle of it somewhere or somewhere underneath it somewhere, and you know, it feels
I mean, if
right.
it has to
Right.
sound,
You have to. I don't always do that. I don't usually do that. It's a cool bonus. Exactly. It's just it's the context of the song. Does it work or does it not? You know, if it does, if it feels appropriate, then it's another tool to use. It's another instrument to play with. And if not, then it's not. You know, it just sort of depends.
I used to use samples as tools like that in older Fire-Toolz stuff, and I kind of miss doing it. Like
you should do it again.
Well, you know, you follow your journey. If it's not right to do it, then it's not right.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right now.
Doesn't feel right.
It's not right. I'm
you
so
would know better.
selfishly wanting it to be personal and like so centered around like my own like dream world that I kind of don't want to. I don't know.
That's understandable.
If I use a sample, I don't want it to sound like what I was using. I don't even want people to really be able to recognize it. You know what I mean? It's because
Gotcha.
it's
because
for me,
then you won't be in trouble.
Yeah, but like I wouldn't care. You know, it's not even about like that. Like fuck that shit. Like they can take it down if they don't like it. I'll make a new fucking song, whatever. But I just for me, it's what you just slow it down. It'll be fine. It's what you said before. It's like I consider my music to be a personal thing, and but that's not to say that people. The thing about vaporwave and the echo jams is for the really great artists, like people like Luxury Elite or Trash Ghost. Like this is very personal the way they use those samples, and it is telling a story.
That's true. Yeah, I don't mean to say it's not personal. Yeah,
well, no, it's different. But you can tell sometimes.
It's different in some way, but personal shouldn't have been the word then because.
Well, it is because it's personal
like,
for you.
I know that stuff is so personal to them,
sure.
and Mindspring is so incredibly as personal to me as Fire-Toolz is really like as far as
for sure.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to know the right word. Yeah. No, I understand. It's very difficult to figure out the language to even convey what you're saying, but I understand what you're saying. You know what I mean? For sure. It's just for you, and like what personal means is an individual thing for each person, right? So, personal for you means something, personal for me means something, personal for Isaac,
I don't know, there's some Mindspring Memories songs that have really touched me very, very deep inside. Like, I think Return to Heaven Accepted is a perfect example of just holy shit, this song is just very moving. Extremely moving. So personal, very personal to me. Even if I may not be imagining the same things you're imagining.
The name of that song comes from, there's a song by a prog metal band called Labyrinth from Italy, or an album called Return to Heaven Denied, which is such a sick title.
Way. Yeah, interesting.
What a cool title.
Like,
oh my God.
To heaven, and God is just like, nope.
Yeah.
It's so
86. Fuck this guy.
Well, what makes it so fun is it's such a bureaucratic title too. It's like it's so depersonalized, denied.
It is.
It's not even like you're given a fucking speech. It's just like stamped out.
Stamped.
It's insult to injury, which is what makes that song title so powerful. I love it.
It's such a cool little information.
I wanted that album and that sort of era to just be so. I wanted to convey like my emotional experience in life. I just have a very emotional life, and I wanted to convey this totally euphoric idea. I wanted it to have
you achieved that
virtual aesthetics in a story that involved technology and virtual reality, but I wanted it to just be so heavenly and euphoric.
It's very sad sounding to me though. I don't know if I'm reading into it, but it's very sad.
You blur the line between that tragic sound and really uplifting when you focus on the major key, but you do it really slow and have a lot of dissonance.
Very interesting.
And people will perceive it as really, really happy or really, really sad, and I feel like it sounds like both at the same time. And I feel like that's kind of
sad
what I try
ecstasy
to do with my music
almost.
a lot of time.
You're a fucking scientist about this music shit. I like that.
I don't. Well, it might seem that way from an outside perspective. To me, it just kind of, I don't know. It just feels like that's just how I think. I didn't.
Yeah, it just is. No, I'm with you. I agree with how you speak about music. I feel that deeply. It's very well said by you as well. I'm sure all of us in this chat probably have had to pull the car over once or twice when a song comes on that moves us so deeply that we just can't help but focus on it, right?
Oh,
man. I've
man.
been there so many times where I'm just crying in my car because of the positioning of the lyrics or the movement of a sound.
Me last night.
Yeah, man, for real. It's real. Can you believe? I can't even fathom the fact that there are people out there that just aren't moved by music. That's not part of their life.
Oh yeah, those rare people that they just listen to whatever. No, I'm not trying to talk shit, but people that just kind of it's in the background. They just listen to what's on the radio. Never really reaches very deep down inside them.
Yeah, I've met people like that.
It's really interesting.
Or they don't like music at all.
Or a problem, but it's weird to me because I can't imagine.
I can't imagine that. That's like, I don't even have a good metaphor to compare it to, but it's as if you ate food and it didn't taste like anything, and that's what music is for them. It's just background.
They
They would never go out of their way. They will, and the thing is that those people usually, if music is on in a movie or at a party or on the radio, and they happen to turn it on, like they'll be like, okay, and they'll like dance to it. But as soon as it's over, that's like, well, I'll put this away. It's not for me. They're not going to go out of their way to figure out who the band is or to figure out what that song was that they like. They don't care. It just doesn't register for them, and they don't have albums. They don't have CDs. They maybe have a few MP3s for their workout. A lot of them maybe have like workout songs. Like it's like music is a functional thing for them.
You know what? Aren't those the people that are like
Fascinating.
really into like hiking, like on like beautiful mountains, and they might be into like parachuting or like some kind of activity that puts them in the moment to where maybe they can experience something similar to listening to
maybe it's
really
just different
song.
for them.
For pulling over in a car and crying to the song you love, for them that might be being at the top of a mountain that they've
That might
hiked.
be sailing.
Or sailing, could be juggling. I don't know. It could be like anything.
Juggling.
Right?
I mean,
Fascinating,
I
man.
feel like most people love
Fascinating.
music, no matter what their hobby is. If their hobby's not music,
I bet
they probably love
sociopaths don't like music.
Oh, so that's an interesting thing. I
it.
always say,
No, I know. Oh my God, I know a couple sociopaths that have incredible music and they love music so much.
really?
Do they listen to Huey Lewis
yeah.
and the news?
Are they really sociopath? I always thought the best way to test someone who's a sociopath is not to test how they interact with people, but how they interact with art. Like, if you look at, I don't know, I'm going to use
I don't
American
know.
Psycho. No, am I wrong? Really?
Wow.
No, I said I don't know. I don't.
Like, when you think about like American Psycho, I'm just gonna use it's just off the top of my head. If you ever read
that's a
American
movie.
Psycho, well, yeah, if you ever watch the movie or read the book, particularly if you read the book, he spends a lot of time detailing like the history of like Phil Collins's post Genesis career, right? Because he thinks that after that it's too arty before that. But he can detail all the movements. He can say which one he thinks is the more successful album, why it's the more successful. Do you like Huey Lewis in the News? That
Right.
scene. Like he's really good at explaining it and why it is a perfect album. Why it's a perfect pop album, but he doesn't feel it. You know what I mean? He's not going to pull over in his car and cry. Like he can explain to you exactly why he thinks this is a successful album, and like he'll talk about it for days.
But it's all
But
I
factual.
think that might be indicative of something other than just being a sociopath. There might
Maybe.
be other things to his personality. Perhaps he's on the spectrum.
Maybe he's on a spectrum.
Maybe, yeah.
That's what I was
Although I
thinking.
know
Something
people
like
on
that.
the spectrum, and they
We
seem
should,
to be.
I mean, we can speculate,
say,
but
man. We can
there's
speculate,
probably
yeah.
science behind this that we can just look up. That's available.
Yeah.
So
Probably.
I
And
would
even
be
the science-
fascinated because this kind of thing is a subject I really like. So I'm curious, but
Yeah, for sure. Even science behind this sort of thing is like spotty at best. Just speaking as someone with a medical background, like all these things are like so subjective at the end of the day, and they only really study a little thing. And honestly, like science is science until 10 years later, and it's not science anymore. Sometimes,
That's
particularly
an
with the
interesting
mind.
statement.
that might be true. But a lot of the science in psychology that I've learned through therapy and reading books and stuff like that has been extremely helpful and life-changing, even with the spotty research, because what you also have outside the spotty research is loads and loads of anecdotal evidence,
Right.
on the internet from people, and a lot of the books out there that are written are based on that. They're based on things that they've gathered from therapy session after therapy session, like therapists writing books, psychiatrists writing books, or psychologists. So just from studying things like that, it's been extremely helpful. So I don't know what my point was, but I think it was something slightly argumentative.
Yeah, it sounded like a counterpoint. He said science is science until 10 years ago,
I think it was a
or 10
counterpoint.
years later.
It's a good counterpoint. Honestly, at the end of the day, like this is how we get knowledge, is by speaking to other people and sharing experiences with other people and communication. And this is how we get knowledge and transfer it back and forth and get understanding of our own existence and our own realities, and are able to navigate this world. We can't do it without reaching out to people and sharing our experiences and kind of cataloging it. And then we get a little bit more information, a little bit more here and there. We can move forward with a little bit more clarity. And, you know, those anecdotal things are like more important to me than almost anything else, you know?
Than the hard
Because
science.
Yeah, I think that what's good to do is to maybe, and even if you don't intuitively feel this way, you can do this as like a good scientific method to think that both the anecdotal evidence and the scientific research to be equally important and needing each other to inform each other, because they should kind of like sort of match up. And and if there's anything that's like goes in opposite direction, like that they're not getting in the lab, but the people are posting on Reddit, then then you know something is off, and you got to figure that out.
Well said.
I think they're both really important.
Knowledge is tough.
Another
hard
thing
to
I would
figure out
say,
knowledge
just,
and
like,
truth.
a cool example, another example of like how important the anecdotal evidence is like when it comes to CBD and it being a good treatment for problems with like your dog or your cat. It's not something that vets really like typically know a lot about, and they won't talk to you about because there's not enough scientific research. But the thing is that there's so much anecdotal evidence that it is completely harmless and extremely helpful. Like, I have scoured the internet. I cannot find like one little tiny like post or a report or anything of like any pet like, you know, getting sick, passing away, like having any sort of medical problems. So it's like, yeah, my vet won't recommend it, but just like I've got nothing to lose. Like, it literally, a bad story doesn't exist. And as long as you buy stuff made for cats and dogs, like from a reputable company, like it's probably going to help with their anxiety, their pain, or something like that.
I imagine you probably
like
had to deal with a lot
like,
of that, being that today's the day after the
analogy.
4th of July.
Yeah,
Poor
yeah, that's
cats
kind
and
of why it's
dogs.
on my mind. Like, I give it to my cat anyway. I have for the past 2 years, but like it's been on my mind because of the fireworks. In fact, right after we started, there was one right outside, kind of out of the blue, and I heard my cat's claws on the kitchen floor as he tried to run away really fast and was like stuck in place for a second because he tried to run really fast on a wood floor.
Yeah, I saw that
So I,
reply that you posted.
I heard the claws and I was like, oh God.
I saw that reply you posted on Twitter. I think it was to Mesh about fireworks, and I had seen that graphic floating around.
I was a dick to him. I feel bad.
No,
for the way
you weren't. I thought it was very informative.
Oh,
I mean, it really wasn't that bad, honestly. I was just like, he said something, I don't know, what did he say, like, have a good time on the 4th or something like that.
Yeah, just being congenial, you know.
Look at this infographic, like, I don't know.
It's factual, though. I mean, Lux and I have talked about it a lot. You know, it does a lot of damage to bees, animals, you know, the environment, people with PTSD.
Yeah, I've gotten used to the fireworks, honestly. I don't really have trouble with them anymore most of the time, but I have a lot of trouble with sudden loud noises. And like even in my house, like, you know, something falls over or my, you know, somebody drops something or something, and I'll get a crazy shock to my system, and a couple times it's actually made me sort of kind of blackout, but for like a third of a second. Like, really strange, where I didn't know what reality was for like a very tiny amount of time.
Do you find that? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'm just saying, like, if somebody like me who's never actually gone through like, you know, what a veteran has, and you know, if I can have a problem with it, then I just, you know, I can't imagine who else might, especially in my neighborhood. There's a lot of old people around here.
Do you? Yeah, no. You know, I've never been a veteran, but I work in trauma bays, obviously, and I've just watched a lot of death. Like, I've watched a lot of death and a lot of violence.
Well,
and yeah, making music.
For enduring that, because.
Oh man, I can't even. Ew.
This man has posted some gruesome shit.
Move right on.
Oh my god, just like some of the worst things that you can see are like the babies that have had like their faces ripped off. And they're just children, and like that's it. Like from this day forward, they are now permanently scarred forever. Like that is the thing. Like, you know, I had this,
really
there's this
hard
one.
to see.
Oh, you know, like there was a guy raising fighting dogs, and like one broke out of the, one broke out of the pen, and that was we'll stop there.
No.
But
yeah.
you know, I just wanna, like, you know, making music. I have a question for you. Is like, you know, with your anxieties and your and all the things that we all suffer with, do you find making music as a therapeutic experience for you? Does it help you? Does it help you, give you strength? Does it
Yes,
give you
make
catharsis?
definitely.
Catharsis?
Yes. Yeah. It's one of the many things I do to work with that, with my feelings and whatever you want to call it. Bullshit, I guess you could call it.
No, not at all.
But,
not at all. It's very real things.
No, it's very real. I'm not trying to discount it. I just don't know what to
I don't know what to call it. Yeah, I feel you.
Bad
I call it
vibes.
mental illness, but it's
We can call it just like energy. We can call it just excess energy, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know
Yeah,
how to direct.
Yeah.
maybe, right?
Yeah, well, creating the music and releasing it is a big part of the therapy in it, and it's not the responses. It's the act of letting it go, like putting it out there. Now it's available. It's out, and for some reason that and the actual process of creating it and finalizing it, that's what's therapeutic. Playing it live doesn't really do much for me for some reason.
That's really interesting.
So I don't play live a whole lot. I used to play live a lot more.
Yeah,
and
you
I
were
think
gonna be at the
reason why I liked
LA.
it a lot more. I liked it a lot more back then because I was doing more creating sounds in real time during the shows, and with Fire-Toolz, because of how ridiculously calculated everything is, there's not a lot I'm doing to control what you're hearing besides playing the lead line or some chords on the keyboard, or playing a guitar part and doing the vocals and maybe doing a few sound effects or whatever. But a lot of it is just like, you know, a backing track that I'm playing to, because there's no other way to make it happen and have it line up with the visuals that I've already created that are syncing to it.
I see no problem with this. I would
I-
love to see
this
that
is what we
live.
were talking about, right?
Satisfaction there, and
It's not a
can't
satisfactory to
freely
you.
express myself. I can't improvise.
Oh.
Yeah, but this is
So
what
I
we were
don't really
talking
like
about. This is what we were talking about before, was that there isn't really a paradigm for how to do this kind of new music that's kind of started in the 2010s in multiple different genres in a certain way live that is similar to the 1950s through 2000s version of what rock and roll is, or
Right.
that version of what rock is, right? You have to come up with different ideas. Like, I like the idea of curating an audiovisual experience, right? Like we were talking about before, the experience of hearing the music with a large crowd, of being in the presence and feeling the energy of the person who created it, and how they're conveying it and how they choose to organize that set. This is also one of the reasons why I started getting into DJing too, was that it's a bit more satisfying with a live crowd to DJ than it is to do my weird electronic music live, which I've figured out a way recently, and I've done it on some of the live streams, to do the DJing and combine it with some of the live performances. That works
Yeah,
for
I
me.
was gonna bring that
That's
up.
one way of doing it. That's just one way of doing
Yeah,
it.
I think that's how a lot of electronic artists, like in the trance scene, like when artists would perform, like they were doing DJ sets, even though they sat
Essentially.
on their computers and like made the songs. They're doing DJ sets of their songs and other people's
Absolutely.
songs, and remixes of other people's
Yeah.
songs, and other people's remixes of their songs.
Yep.
And I know this applies to other electronic genres too. I just know mostly about trance because I was like a huge nerd for it when I was little.
I love
Well, I
it.
mean, the first time I saw, I remember being the first artist that I saw saying, okay, this isn't going to be exactly a live performance, it's going to be an audio-visual experience that we curate and move along, would be like, I remember when The Knife was touring for Silent Shout, that was what they did. And I remember seeing that, okay, well, The Knife is doing it this way, I can probably do something similar too.
Yeah,
Right.
so much of the Knife, I don't know about that particular project, but so much of the Knife is just like sitting at your computer and like toying with like sound design and like doing all this like weird stuff that you can't easily replicate, like the vocal effects and stuff like that. Like
Correct.
you can't do all that in real time. So there's got to be some aspect of, using the machines to like help you.
I don't know. I've seen
Maybe
artists
having a
literally
band
just
helps
do
with
the
the computer.
percussion part live. Nothing more. And these are well-known
Well, no,
artists
I
that have
really
just
wanna
banged
do
out the
that.
drum beat, and it was awesome. Like, I loved it.
Yeah.
I
No, I
mean-
love that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, you could just take a page out of, this is what the modern festival EDM producers are doing, is they're not DJs. Like, they just, no one knows they put them behind a DJ deck because people understand the archetype of DJ deck.
Right.
And that means dance. That means
Yeah.
move.
Yeah.
Someone's behind a
Most
DJ
of
deck.
those
That means
artists
those
are on
motherfuckers aren't
CDJs.
DJ Those motherfuckers aren't DJing. Like, they're just really great producers, and they're lining up their songs and their remixes, and they're playing it, and they have a huge production behind them with lasers and fireworks
Yeah.
and a giant screen with the visuals they've worked on. Like, that's the performance. So
Yeah,
it's really
it's
funny to
really
me when people go to
unfair
these festivals and
for-
say, I'm going to see that DJ. I'm like, that's not a DJ.
Yeah.
They would
Right.
never do this in a club. This is just
Yeah,
because they're
it's
producers and we don't
interesting.
understand what else to put them behind.
Yeah, they're
Anyway.
behind
Well, it's
CDJs.
like DJ. They're doing the DJ thing. They're using the DJ method in a lot of ways for their performance, but they're
They're-
not DJing
No, they're
necessarily. Like, they are DJing, but it's not a DJ set. It's their
yeah,
stuff.
nah. It's their
It's their
stuff, and it's like you would never play these like songs that start really slow and then work their way up and have that ba ba like super saw noise with the bass underneath it after. Like, that's not what that would never work in a like. This is a performance. This is people who are producers, and this is the only way we know how to communicate what they do to people is put them behind a DJ deck. Millennium isn't a DJ. Like, he's
Right.
just like a dude who's a really phenomenal producer that's very popular with kids, and you gotta put him behind this and give him lasers and fireworks and curate an audio-visual experience.
Yeah, I agree. That's
I actually have a
good
question
thing
for you.
Great
If-
thing to do.
Angel, you've been in a lot of bands. You've played a lot of genres of music. You've done, virtually everything under the sun. Have you experienced a lot of gatekeeping? Or do you have any particular feelings about gatekeeping in general?
I mean, there's nothing too complicated about it. Gatekeeping sucks. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it in... well, the thing is, okay, I've always sort of dressed kind of weird and not always fit in with the scene I was like dabbling in at the time. Like, I'm making weird electronic
gotcha.
music now. I
Yeah.
feel like I probably fit in just fine.
You're doing good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You're right,
I was playing in like emo bands. I was playing in like some like sort of post-hardcore metal bands and stuff like that. And in that kind of thing, like there's a lot of gatekeeping. I feel like out of all the scenes that I've ever been a part of, and this is just my experience, and I know a lot of people, their experience is different, but in my experience, the worst has been in hardcore, like not the electronic hardcore.
Right.
Like,
We're talking
Oh,
like
Not like
straight-
Gabber. We're talking about like metal
but you
music.
have to understand, I'm like, I'm in a AMAB body or whatever,
Yeah.
and I've always been kind of feminine and colorful.
Yeah.
And being in that scene, it's just like I'm just a target. Like,
Oh,
all
that's
the super masculine tough guys who
Right.
will tell you they're into
Muscles,
dancing,
shaved
but
heads.
really they're just mad and they just want to beat people up and they just want to be obnoxious.
Man, yeah, particularly if you were doing that during maybe like the very tail end of the late 90s and the early 2000s.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that is just like that, the whole scene just like it
A lot
was
of
Yeah,
toxic
it was-
masculinity.
I saw a lot of violence. I saw a lot of hardcore kids picking on like skinny, like acne-ridden metalhead kids with children in a
just for
photo
the sake
shirt
of
and a
doing it. Like,
ponytail.
it was a really shitty time in that like early 2000s period. Like, I don't even know. Like, there was all the violence was just for the sake of doing it. Just because, he's gonna get snuck. if he
Working
comes.
out
Everyone was
some
just looking
stressors.
for a reason to be disrespected. Like, just speaking
Underneath,
from the
it's not for the sake of doing it. It's because they have inner issues that they
For
they
real.
don't realize and that they're trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
deal with. They just
Uh-huh.
want to be territorial, and they just want to find something that's not a big deal to get really mad about. And like, I've just seen so many fights, and it's so shitty. I remember on Broken Wings, like their first album I was really, really into because it was ridiculously heavy to the point of just being silly almost, and I loved it. And when I saw them live, fights would break out and they would stop playing but to watch and to like make comments,
like
and
egg
stuff.
them on and
they were
stuff.
into it. And I was just like, at that moment, like I was just like, this is not, I'm not ethically like able to like deal with this scene, and I just like kind of stopped listening to a lot of that
so shitty, man. Like I just remember, like I just would want to go. I just wanted to go see American Nightmare play, but like I couldn't do it. I'd have to stand in the back.
I'd have to watch from the back.
I have to watch American. At least in the 2000s, I had to go stand in the back, watch American Nightmare.
I had to do that too. At like the Locust, Blood Brothers.
Once to Give Up the Ghost, and twice as American Nightmare. No, once as temporarily in between.
Yeah, they temporarily changed their name to Give Up the Ghost because there was like a rockabilly band that
between American Nightmare and Give Up the Ghost, they were temporarily something else.
American Nothing.
Yeah, that's it.
You're American Nothing in between that. Yeah.
Too. But all 3 times I had to be really far away.
Yeah, like hang out in the back. And when you wear glasses, it's even worse.
Right? This is hot take.
Yeah, please give us
moshing. I think moshing is there's an ethical issue because moshing almost always is hurting somebody who doesn't want to be there. And I know this sounds like I'm such a grandma, but I think if you want to do it, you should really have a little bit of a dedicated area.
I thoroughly agree. Anyone who wears glasses, like, damn.
I've been in so many situations where I've been trying to enjoy a show in maybe a smaller area, and I just can't. I just can't watch the band. I can't be in the room because I'm getting my ass kicked. And it's just like, people just don't think about that, especially people that like grew up listening to hardcore and they're just like, it's like a way of life. And it's like dancing is like something you're passionate about and that you actually practice and think you're good at and have so much fun doing it. Like, I don't want to talk shit on those people, but I just think if you're at a show and you're hitting people that aren't moshing, like there's an ethical issue. Like that's wrong. It's
shitty. Meanwhile, at vaporwave shows, we're all hugging each other.
No crowd killing. No crowd killing. That has never.
I had not even heard about that until today.
It's not funny.
You know? I heard Isaac write in the chat, like, what's crowd killing? Like, that's when somebody just runs into the crowd and starts moshing directly into the crowd.
I've been to hardcore metal shows, but I've never heard of that. That's terrible.
It's called crowd killing.
I've gotten so mad at people and I've like wanted to hurt them because like I feel so much rage when people do that because it's just like so terrible and so hurtful and so rough.
It's super ableist.
I think it's a little bit better nowadays. Particularly it's a little bit better nowadays because honestly, like, it's just not the center of where rebellion happens now. When kids want to rebel and do some kind of music, very few of them these days are really like picking up a guitar and starting a hardcore band. You know, like when I DJ'd for the after parties for This Is Hardcore Festival in Philadelphia, and I remember being, I DJ'd for both days afterwards, and I which is fun. I had a little backstage pass, which is actually where I got the Off shirt at, because I got to see Off on the stage when they played. I like Keith Morris. He's interesting. But anyhow, my point is that a lot of the bands that play at these festivals are like, they are like from 30 years ago, or it's like a reunion show for a band from the late 90s or early 2000s. Just not a lot of kids starting these bands anymore and coming up in that world because they're kind of doing other things. You know, they're just like punk isn't really this where people go for rebellion now. Now they're like picking up DAWs, or they're making vaporwave, or they're making SoundCloud.
I didn't know. I've been so withdrawn from that scene. I wasn't really sure how things were. I mean, I'm sure people are still moshing.
Yeah, I mean, like, but like your headliner's like Gorilla Biscuits, and that headliner is like from so long ago.
You're in Gorilla Biscuits. You
can't. No, you're old, and that's like. But that's the big draw, is these old bands like almost reliving the glory of when this was the most rebellious music out there. You know, back in the day where, you know, when hardcore punk started becoming a thing and nobody really knew how to describe it, what it was. They're like, you just have to come and experience the energy of it, and it's just these, you know, that's the same bands.
I love that kind of music too.
Headlining tours. Well, I do too.
Like, but I'm scared to be there.
Well, you don't have to be quite as scary anymore because all the people who do that really scary moshing, a lot of them are just like old now, like they're in their 40s. Like that's like who I saw mostly out there doing it.
Hurt the next guy.
There's just not a lot of like
because the scene kids started doing hardcore dancing.
Oh yeah.
Like when Devil Wears Prada was big, and they scared all the tough hardcore kids away.
That's it. They got scared by the kids in the skinny jeans.
Honestly, even though some of the scene music was
moshing.
kind of questionable, I kind of liked that movement because it was like a super early adopter of the diversity and just the weird be yourself type of movement. Scene kind of walked so that everything else could run,
You know what? That's really funny that you say that. I mean, I don't know how you felt, Angel, but when I first started seeing those kinds of bands that I felt so far removed from and felt so different than what I understood emo to be or what I understood, screamo to be, I remember being like, who are these like Hot Topic kids? But now as I look back on it several years later, I'm like, it was really fun that they were wearing their hair like that and wearing these daring outfits and kind of being very fluid and androgynous with each other. And that's kind of a lot better than the version of emo,
in
like
2007.
style-wise. Emo for me, and what I grew up with it was that I wore a sweater vest, and maybe I had a sweater vest, I had a carabiner, on my thing.
I remember the carabiners.
I had New Balance shoes.
Did you have the
glasses? Yeah, I had black rim glasses. I didn't have any tattoos.
Oh my god!
I didn't have any tattoos.
You had
There's no tattoos.
This scene sucks,
And I had a
guys.
satchel. I had like a satchel and with some pins and patches on it.
Do you guys remember
and it was
the
like
Your
very
Scene Sucks
understated.
site?
But this is kind of more
He was
fun
that
that
guy.
kids started wearing costumes. And I look back, I didn't like it when I was younger, but and I look back on it, I'm like, that's fun that kids were like expressing themselves and wearing costumes and stuff. That's cute.
Yeah.
I like it. It's good.
I agree.
Good for them.
I think that
I get it now.
There's a connecting thread. People really feel like it was an entirely different sort of scene, but it did branch off from that older emo that you're talking about. There were a few bands that had like the dark look and that wanted to be a little heavier, and one of the leading bands in that was Thursday. They came from they loved emo, but they were mostly trying to play like melodic hardcore, post-hardcore type stuff.
They did a split with Envy.
They wore all black. They had the black swoopy hair. They wore tight clothes, and I feel like Thursday was the reason that actually the singer of Thursday signed My Chemical Romance, and their first EP was on that guy's. Or wait, no, it wasn't. No, it was on Eyeball Records, which Thursday was on. It wasn't the guy from Thursday's label, but they started off on the same label, and I feel like Thursday paved the way for that, sort of paved the way for My Chemical Romance, and then My Chemical Romance got huge, and I think that is kind of a lot of where the whole like mall emo thing.
Okay. So I'm gonna say that the first time I saw people doing that kind of look with like a little bit of a Spock look would of course be from the Scrams bands, right?
Yeah,
like
no, that was older. That was like the San Diego stuff, right?
The San Diego stuff, absolutely. The Gravity Records, all that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Or what's the other?
Oh shit! Fear Before the March of Flames.
Level Plane Records, and also Ebullition Records.
I think Thursday got it from them. So here's my thing is where I think they all got it from. At least the more mainstream bands got it from. I think they got it from Refused personally, because I think everybody saw the New Noise video. Yeah, the New Noise video.
Which, by the way, is not the first fucking Refused album.
I still want to look like them.
Yeah.
I still want to look like Refused. I think I'm gonna work on that. Like I'm trying to grow my hair out. I think I'm gonna bring back wearing like the black skinny jeans with the studded belt. Is that what I got? I got to get a hair
straighten. Yeah, you got that curly hair, bro. You're going to have to...
I've got the hair for like this sort of thing now. Like I can do
when you straighten that, it'll get even longer. You'll be...
Hey, I love it. Somebody capture this. That guy's hair is curly. Wow.
Yeah, you're going to have to condition really well and maybe use a little bit of product.
What do I do? I don't know what products to use, but I guess I'll do my homework.
Angel, do you like post-metal very much? Like ISIS and Jesu and Envy and stuff.
Yeah, I was super into ISIS
I love both
for
those
a while. But I don't. It's not a huge part of stuff that I like. But I definitely really like. I was really into Panopticon by ISIS.
Yeah, that's my favorite album by them.
I for a while, even after I stopped listening to ISIS, was always just following what Aaron Turner was doing and just to see what new project he was up to. He was always an interesting character. I remember like always following those Boston hardcore metal guys and like Bannon and like Iron
Yeah,
Drawback,
there's
all
so
those
much
guys.
stuff that came out of Converge members that was...
Yeah, like I was always into Old Man Gloom and was
Yeah,
that Nate?
Old Man
Nate
Gloom. Oh, I
yeah,
really
Nate,
like him too.
Yeah, Nate Newton and all his stuff he did with Jesuit and like I don't know, man. That was
Yeah,
a really
that too. Yeah, good call.
It was a really fun. I don't know about you, but for me, it was always fun to learn about the members of the bands and then see what else they were doing. You learn about the record labels they were on.
That's how I used to find music, bro. In the 2000s,
you knew, like,
you figure out who was dipping into what different group and what label were they on, and get a comp from that label.
Yeah.
You know, community
I
is
miss that
such
method
an
of crate
important
digging.
thing. You know, like community of artists is such an important thing into the growth of a movement, right? You know, vaporwave is popular because they know that we all kind of know each other and are friends with each other, and people want to keep on one eye on one artist, and they see that they know another artist and they work with another artist, or they're on the same label as another artist, or they talk to their friends with this artist. That's kind of like what I think of. You know, that's how I felt about those Boston metal hardcore bands, which was really fun to see. Like, oh, they all know each other. How fun! Like they all hang out and like
Zines
make
helped a
music,
lot.
or yeah.
Zines were a big part of
Zines
that.
are a big deal.
That's
Zines are a
because
big
the
deal.
labels would run ads.
Yeah.
And so you'd get to see, they'd like prop up a few different new releases, but then have a little list at the bottom of their ad with like a ton of other stuff they have available. And I'd be like, well, if these bands rule, the other bands on the label are probably cool. And
Absolutely.
I would blind order them, like
Same.
hoping they were good and find.
And
like,
they usually were.
Yeah, they usually were. And reviews that were in zines.
I miss those days.
Would describe the
Under the
music and I would
radar.
buy stuff. Yeah, I've definitely gotten into bands because I read reviews in the back of Heart Attack, that zine. That was
Heart
available
Attack! I used to order that from Ebullition Records all the time. I would order the back issues
I
of
would
it.
order stuff from Ebullition too. But they had them in Tower Records, and then I would go look for any of it in Tower Records, and I would rarely find something, but once in a while I would find like one copy of something there was a review of, and then I would buy it. So, but that's not how it is anymore.
What do you think about gent music? It seems like we've got a pretty good difference of opinions in the chat about gent music.
The funny thing is, I got into it really late, but I really love it. But I'm picky about it. It's just got to be good.
Oh, Justin Pearson. Oh.
But I started getting into it, like, I guess you could say tops 2 years ago, which is like, I don't know what, like 5 years kind of past its time a little bit.
Gotcha.
Because most of the stuff that's coming out now is very post-gent.
True.
Gent influenced other stuff, which is so cool. And I like that too. I probably like it more. I like the stuff that's
I actually
genty,
really
but maybe
need
not
to.
full on.
I need one of those introduction to gent like mixes or something, because I'm horribly.
I can make you a playlist of like.
Oh, that would be so cool. But we'll worry about that another time.
I don't have Spotify, but I
don't
You
either.
have Spotify?
I use MP3s,
I mean, I'm
You
girl.
guys don't have
Spotify, but
Spotify?
I
I
don't
know,
play
you're
music.
on Spotify.
music's on Spotify. I don't have a Spotify account. I don't use it. I buy stuff on Bandcamp, and if it's an old artist or something like that, or it's obscure, I'll look for it on SoulSeek, or I'll listen to it on YouTube. I don't know. I'm a bad person.
I'm the same way, honestly. I mean, I DJ like Chris,
stuff on
so I
Bandcamp.
work with
I give people
MP3s,
money.
you know. Yeah,
I'd
same.
rather give somebody
I-
$10
I-
than
you-
83 cents.
Hey man, I still buy the stuff on Bandcamp. I still support the artists. But I listen to Spotify. I put it on in my car. It's just
I don't
easy.
judge
You get
anyone.
I
stuff.
don't think it's immoral to
I
use Spotify
stream
whatsoever.
the Rosewood playlist on
I have
Spotify all day, every
do
day on an
the
old
What's Skelly
iPhone.
listening to Spotify
You do.
playlist, like, twice a month usually.
No,
But
Spotify
anyway.
is very useful. I make money on Spotify.
Spotify's algorithms aren't terrible
I didn't make
either.
money on streaming, so I've had a good experience. I put my music up there, and then
I mean, it's
little
pretty
bit of money
stupid
comes
how
in. That's
little
cool.
you make, but I mean, I'm glad it's better
I'm
than
gonna make
nothing.
the same music whether I put it on Spotify or not. Might as well put it on there. and make
It's gonna
money
be
off of
zero or something, right?
I mean, that's like the thing about artists. True artists is just like you're gonna make the music one way or another. You might as well
Right.
put it everywhere. You're gonna make it
Absolutely.
even
And I
if
know
nobody.
that-
And the people that
Yeah.
want to support you
I
will.
know
The people
they're
that can will
ripping
pay you above and beyond what
Hey.
some other people would pay.
The thing I don't like about Spotify, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what I particularly don't like about Spotify. Now, it's not even the artist royalty thing. It's not even all that, right? Which is a thing, but that's actually not why I dislike Spotify. I dislike Spotify because it's created this like concept of if you're not being listened to thousands of times every day or every like month, then you're not doing well. That's crazy because like some of my favorite albums, my absolute favorite albums, I don't listen to them every day. I don't put on,
me neither, dude. I don't want to ruin that shit.
They're my favorite albums. Like I don't listen to them every day. I have them and I listen to them. It's a powerful experience. But Spotify creates this culture of if you're not being listened to every day by people, you're not doing it right. Fuck that. That's fucking bullshit. That's like a weird way to qualify art.
Like
that's not like people look at these Spotify stats like it means anything. It doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything. It's fucking
You should just
stupid.
rate your music
of your
reviews
favorite artists
instead.
and just like Instagram followers and just like everything else, most of your favorite artists are fucking inflating those stats. It's not real.
They're
it's not real
followers.
life. The internet is reality, is like reality, except the difference is you could just change. It's just a lot easier to fucking fuck with and modify. It's not. It's like that's the thing about the internet. Is like everybody can just modify or change it and blah 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 blah. So you really cannot look at those stats and think that that is your worth as an artist and that is your popularity as an artist either. It really isn't. That's crazy that we have this culture of like you got to be listening to like 1,000,000 times every month by people or else like you're just not that successful. Like it's crazy, man. Like it's crazy that these weird numbers are like supposed to qualify how popular you are or how well you do as an artist.
Numbers usually mean dollars. And I think that the numbers definitely are used to sort of brag, but I also think that the numbers indicate revenue a lot of times, and the more numbers, the more you make. And that's the case with selling albums too. But I see the point you're trying to make, and I agree with that.
You could get lucky.
I don't really know what my stats are. I don't know how many listeners I have whatsoever, how many listens I get a day. I've never looked. I've seen it a few times and been like, "Oh, okay," but I have no clue what those numbers are.
That's good. Do you rate your music reviews?
Oh God.
I've never looked. I mean,
it sounds like it's probably better for your mental health.
It's not like I'm purposely turning away, like making some sort of moral high ground statement, like, "Oh, I don't look at my stats. I don't believe in that." I just don't care, and I never think to look. But I guess it would be interesting to look at rate your music maybe, but I don't.
Oh, that's rough because rate your music.
No, I know it'll be rough.
It's rough because
it's rough for everyone.
It's unbelievable whenever I hear a magnum opus and I go on Rate Your Music and people are just trashing, and I'm like, wow, that's a bunch of hot takes.
The thing about that is like,
their opinions are
people
trash.
Can't like everything, and they have to rate some things down, or else they won't be taken seriously in their community or whatever. I suppose. I don't know. I don't look at stats and I don't look at reviews either because it doesn't serve me.
I like reviews.
I
kind of like.
I mean, I like good ones.
People perceive my
fair
I
enough.
see what you're saying, but
if you're gonna read a review that you knew was gonna be a good, cool one, maybe you would want to know what images your music puts in people's heads.
I don't care though if somebody has some dumb take.
A hot take.
I guess, okay, here's the thing about reviews that I don't like when people say, that I actually do kind of have a problem with, but there's nothing I can do to change it, is when they say something that's literally not true. Not an opinion, but like when they make an assumption, like,
right.
You know, like I'm just making this up. It's not that it's never happened, but if someone's like, Angel uses Audacity to make these beautiful compositions, I would just be like, hey, I've never actually used that software. Like, don't, like, can you not say that? And there's kind of like this blurry line where like it's like kind of an opinion and perception, but at the same time it's like almost like kind of just like false information. And I get a little antsy when it's like that. But if someone's just like tearing it apart, or they're just saying this is really not my thing, I don't really like it, like I don't like the vocals, sometimes the music is cool but the vocals ruin it for me, like I'm like not even affected by that. And I think part of the reason is not because I'm like super confident or anything. I think it's because my entire life I am so used to a large portion of the world thinking my music is just weird and not wanting to have anything to do with it. It's
true.
So normal to me.
It's nothing new to you.
The idea of maybe most people in the world not being into it, like that is I'm so used to it that it's now
it's
I'm
almost
more
like
and more
you're free
every day.
Yeah, you're free of those confines.
That sounds very confident to me. You just said like, oh, it's not a confidence thing. But I don't know. What you just said was an incredibly confident statement, and that is really, we should all be there where you are.
I thoroughly agree.
That is
goals.
Fantastic.
Maybe there's confidence, but it's also like Stockholm syndrome and making fringe music that I'm like comfortable with. And
outsider music does make you a unique. I mean, you have to be in a certain headspace to be in that outsider realm.
Oh, I know I am definitely hurt sometimes when people judge it, because it does feel like they're judging me. But at the same time, I understand that what I make is what I make. I like it. I do it exactly the way I want to do it. And that's enough, and that's why I don't really look at stats either or anything to that nature, because it'll distract me from creating.
Good point.
I think what you said was incredibly inspirational, and I hope everybody can think that way, the way that you just said. It's very healthy. It's really good stuff.
Well, it is really great to not be concerned with something that can only be a lot of stress. And the problem with the adrenaline rush when you get a really good review is, if you start to rely on that and you don't get it one day, like, that can be a problem. I have this idea in my head, and it hasn't happened yet, and I keep thinking it's going to happen, that my next album is going to disappoint, not to an extreme extent probably, but to a point where, the press will drop off, there won't be as many reviews, there won't be as many shared retweets, there won't be as much interest. And I always kind of assume that's going to happen, because I end up doing, something a little different. And it hasn't happened yet, but it's just like, I'm just so open to it and okay with it. Like, I'll understand if it happens.
Yeah.
Kind of like, expecting the worst but hoping for the best.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it would be, the recognition is great, the good reviews are great, but I kind of like, every time I make something, I kind of think like that people might not resonate with this. So it's so I don't often get disappointed. Like I released an EP not too long ago, and I didn't I haven't gotten
great, by the way,
feedback on it. I've gotten some comments, but like no one wrote anything about it and stuff like that. And I'm just like, of course they didn't, like, there's a lot of other stuff out there, and it didn't make people as excited as the last album, or it didn't get as much exposure. I don't know, whatever it is. I kind of just don't care. I needed to put it out. I needed to make it, and I needed to put it out, and I feel so much better now that I did that. So
I want to pause for a second to also say thank you to everybody who has written us good reviews. That's really appreciated and has published that. It's a really beautiful thing that people take time out of their day to listen to your music and then put their feelings about it into words. Like, that's such a beautiful skill, and I really appreciate everybody who's ever written me a very kind review. And also, that's great, because that's something I can use in my press kit, and I can bring that to a venue, and I can bring that to a promoter.
Good
and
point.
I can bring that
because I used to write reviews all the time. I didn't know that would actually physically help you.
They're extremely helpful.
God,
I saved them
that's
all.
so sick.
I saved them all in my EPK, in my electronic press kit. Like, I have them
that's
all
so
headlines.
cool.
So helpful. The people who write reviews, like, I mean, Angel, you probably remember back in, Isaac as well, back in like the 2010s, early 2010s, everybody was
reviews mattered
blogs.
so much.
Everybody was starting blogs back then.
I did it.
That was really great. You did it, and like, that was really wonderful for me at the time too, in the early Vapor days of like that, because I could send, before we had like a system in place and a culture in place like we do now, and we were just shooting in the dark, trying to find somebody who might maybe also listen to like music, that might listen to experimental music. And so everybody who ever wrote about me then was like super helpful in me like having something to show that this is actual music. I'm not just some like person who's like,
someone
this is,
else actually likes this enough to type something.
Right, it's not just me and my
like,
partner
I'm
and
like,
my family.
yeah, it made me feel like I was a legitimate artist. So many people write music and like no one hears it, or they play in their local scene and like they barely even get noticed in like in their hometown. So like getting those good reviews and being able to put them into my press kit was meant the world to me, and still means the world to me when I get them. So thank you.
Yeah,
and
they really helped me too. I mean, when I released stuff on Houseu Mountain and the album I released on Orange Milk, like whether it was the label themselves or somebody that, like, somebody external, there were people doing PR, meaning they were contacting tons and tons of publications and being like, this is coming out soon, listen to it here, here's bio, here's pictures, let me know if you want to do an interview or review or something. And it's a lot of hard work, and I used to do all that myself when I was trying to
That is a lot of hard work.
written about in little blogs, and I am just so grateful to be able to work with labels that are kind of like a large enough operation to where like they actually have like dedicated like PR operation, because I feel like a lot of DIY labels, like they might write to some people, but it's not really a part of their game plan.
I've always had to.
I honestly felt like it was super masturbatory anytime I wrote a little post, but I'm just really glad that means so much
helpful
to artists.
I have every one of my reviews saved in my EPK, and I even like outline it with like a headline, the strongest sentence from the review to be the headline.
Oh, that's so smart, dude.
Yeah,
it's like a CV for...
When it's a big name publication, it's like, I don't know, like Pitchfork, they're hard on people, but I usually get good reviews from them. And even though they're not my favorite publication, it's like that's the review I'm gonna highlight for people, because it's like people know that
everyone knows who Pitchfork is, and they're super
in the 7s and 8s out of 10, like a 7.9 from Pitchfork is like, you know, an A+ with extra credit in school. Like that's what that means. So it was a big deal. And the only time I would ever put somebody like above them is like Rolling Stone said something once, and NPR occasionally says some stuff. So
that's
because
so
those
cool.
are so huge, I might scoot them to the top. But
Tiny Desk concert
big deal,
win.
And you are very, very. This is a very good thing that you have a label that like does some of that promotion for you and like helps you with that. That's
it's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
so grateful.
Yeah.
I'm
doing it all myself still. It's a very difficult thing.
Oh, well, I did it for one album. I did release an album on a label that didn't have any sort of PR operation, so I did it myself. And the funny thing is, I emailed all the same people, like my label, House You Mountain did the album before that. And you know, they got so many responses, but when I did it myself, nobody responded. Not one person. And I even hit them all up a second time just to be sure. No responses.
That's
and
unfortunate.
the reality is, these publications take you way more seriously when you have a label or a PR team hitting them up about you.
Y'all better make some notes about that.
So are you guys listening?
Any artists make a note about that.
Just you vaporwave. No, make a note to any vaporwave labels. Make a note of this, okay? Like people will take you seriously.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a roster, here's the thing about the vaporwave labels, especially some of the bigger ones. They have if a publication clicks on that vaporwave label Bandcamp and sees how many people support every single one of their releases, right? They'll take you seriously, and that'll really help us artists if you guys, because they don't listen to us. So if the vaporwave labels, if you want your label to grow and to be a big deal, start working on a PR team. Start working on making connections with journalists. That will help all of us tremendously. That will help the whole scene tremendously.
And what was it Uni said? Hire what did he hire? Do you remember?
He's a distributor. He said, don't get a distributor.
Get a distributor and get a label that does PR for you.
So once again, to vaporwave record labels out there, like you guys want to up the game, get onto the next level, work on the PR, because they don't really take us seriously as the artists. They won't. It's like what Angel just said. When it comes from the artist, sometimes, and Angel's a very popular artist with a very acclaimed, and it says I have the same thing.
From publications for
that's
the
after
first
getting
album.
them. Yeah,
you'd think you'd have your foot in the door.
Oh crap! Fire-Toolz is doing something new. I need to check that out. But it's like, I didn't have a. I mean, I did have a label back. It wasn't them that contacted. So
a label speaking is much stronger than an artist speaking. An artist by themselves, it just seems like they're by themselves and no one wants to speak for them. But when a label speaks, the publications are more likely to listen to you. So if you guys just released a record, vinyl, or a tape, and you're trying to get it to sell out, start working on the PR aspect of what you guys do, because it's a big deal. Because those publications can click on your Bandcamp and they'll see all the people who buy everyone. You know, they'll look.
True.
It's phenomenal. Like how many lines of people of support who are clicked and bought that thing. They'll take it seriously. You know what I mean?
Here's another thing. I can take it a little bit further, and this is going to alienate even more people because
let's do it. That's what we're here for.
Let's get some hot takes.
We try to push the envelope to get people to work.
If you can afford it, these publications care about you even more if you are a PR company, because anybody can start a label. Because most of you out there that have a label that are listening, you started a label because one day you were like, duh, I'm gonna start a label, you know, and then you did like the next day, and you know, and you probably can't afford a PR team. Like, I mean, that shit is expensive. Like, you know, it's a specialized service, and I can't really throw out price quotes or whatever. But if you're a label and you have any sort of like, you know, savings or whatever, or even if you don't, shop around, like look for like PR, like teams and companies, like marketing companies, but definitely find the ones that are focused on your niche. Like, you don't even want to bother with going to a company that works in other genres. You'll be wasting your money. So you want to go to, like, I don't even know who to suggest. I just know they exist, and I've spoken with several of them, and I can't think of anybody's names. But
yeah, well, I'll let everybody.
And I've worked with.
Like if there are, Alex brought up a good point. If there are PR people that fuck with vaporwave, we need to know who those people are.
It's getting more and more accepted in the larger publications. It started out as a joke to everybody, but now it's like big publications are using the V word now, and too often, in my opinion.
Too often, huh? They're not saying slowed and reverb.
I'll let everybody know too, because as soon as when I finally decide to get this new Skeleton Lipstick album, like that's what I'm gonna start looking at. Like, I'm gonna try and do my homework to figure out which of the PR people are good to work with for this sort of thing. I'll let everybody know when I do some homework.
Damn.
Yeah, Pacific Plaza made a good point in the chat. To get a good person to do PR for you, they have to understand your music or genre. So who are the people that have an adjacent experience? That's a pretty good question. I mean, I don't think there's anyone out there focusing on vaporwave, but there are people focusing on experimental music,
lo-fi music,
absolutely.
Or they're focusing on like weird, like industrial, or like.
I mean, if they write about One Tricks Point Never or Arca, like.
Let me just mention really. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just want to mention, like, I've sold, you know, a dance party based on vaporwave to a club, right? And you know, the way that I promoted it is things like, you know, talking about what this means to the subculture. This is a rising thing. It's getting more and more.
The kids like it.
The kids like it.
It's the new thing.
I phrase it to clubs like this, which is that I say, okay, think about what punk rock was to arena rock. It's the competing subculture underneath it, right? So like clubs could do a punk rock, you know, bands could play there. Punk rock basically play at clubs. Well, so if we're at like an alternative hipster dance club, the vaporwave is the answer to festival EDM music, right? So you have your big festival EDM bands that play the big festivals, and then you have the counterculture the counterculture, which is vaporwave. And so I've tried to like phrase it to them as that, and they, you know, that metaphor is sometimes like.
Well, if you make vaporwave, then you automatically have other genres incorporated into your music. Because
that's
vaporwave
true.
is not
Very
an
good
entirely
point.
original sound. You're either chill wave, or you're freaking EDM, or you're ambient, or your jazz rock, jazz pop, or your like new age music, or your synth wave adjacent.
Yeah,
if you're vaporwave.
absolutely.
Like, you just have to be. It's not original. so that's how you can know where to go when don't stand on vaporwave alone. I feel like that's a little bit alienating.
Yeah.
Because it isn't.
Male Tears is really good about that.
It does have its own aesthetic, but it's not completely removed from all these other electronic genres.
I named the party after a Neon
really
Indian song. Like, it's terminally chill. I named it after a Neon Indian song. They understand what that is.
I wanted to answer a question that I saw.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Oh, yeah, I was going to bring that up. Thank you.
So somebody asked, like, how would you suggest finding these people? Do you track down the NPR Pitchfork people who post about vaporwave and ask them? And I just want to sort of reiterate my point that I was trying to make earlier. Basically, you don't, because they won't listen to you if you're making the music. If you're asking from the perspective of the label, and you're a label, but see, the thing is, like, if you're just some random label and they don't know much about you, they still might, ignore you, but
I think
you can try. Just seem really professional. And in that case, if you are the label, then yes, I guess, like, try to track them down. But they're usually hard to get their attention if they aren't already familiar with you. And getting familiar has to be something that something catches their eye. And sometimes that's, like, so hard to predict. Like, when you have somebody, when you have a job where people are throwing, like, thousands of albums at you, like, in a week, like, you're not checking out every single one of them. There might be a day you come into the office in the first 3 hours, the ones that are coming in, you're just like, you're trying to finish your coffee, you're like fucking around on Twitter, you don't even look at them, but then you decide to randomly click on an email and it's like, wow, this resonates with me. It's kind of like that. Like, it's almost like luck. And in a way that's like not fair, because there's so many good artists out there that these publications don't talk about because they didn't get lucky. Like, I'm so lucky to have won the attention of the label, and a label that ended up being like so good at PR, that has such a good like rapport with everybody, to where like The Wire and stuff like that will listen to them, and Vice and stuff like that. Like, I feel like, yeah, like my music might be good and people might like it, and yeah, maybe if it wasn't for, you know, like, people want to give me all the credit when I say this, and I'd be like, no, but if it wasn't for you, blah blah blah. But like, seriously, like, I feel like there's an element of chance to it, and I hate to tell people that, because
Well,
it's true,
there's so
man.
many hardworking musicians
So-
that just
so-
get no play, you know.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing about luck, is that it finds people who keep going.
It is a
You know what I
numbers
mean?
game.
Like, luck
That is
does.
true.
You gotta
luck
keep
doesn't
plugging
happen
away.
unless you keep moving forward,
Yes.
right? Unless you keep doing things. Like, you know, I wouldn't have any kind of popularity or following or influence in this world if I didn't continue to keep doing what I'm doing. If I didn't continue to make connections with people, continue to reach out to people, continue to work on my art, and continue to figure out different ways of doing things. Here we are, the Hot Takes podcast, right?
Like,
You know what I
Uni
mean?
Wah has no modest amount of
Yeah,
success.
but if I just
and
did
have you
one
seen
thing,
his
if I just did one
discography?
thing- yeah, if I did one thing and then just was like, oh, no one found it. Or like, if I did one thing and never
Yeah, and
tried
just
to reach
fucking
out to
gave
other
up.
people and connect with people, like, I wouldn't have found other things that got me lucky. You know what I mean?
And sometimes, like, the top of mind type thing is a reason why things catch on, because somebody has heard of you 6 times and then they finally decide to check it out.
Yeah.
You know, or your friend at a party was talking about it, and then like 3 weeks later you're on YouTube and you happen to pass something that you might not otherwise click on, but you remember somebody said something about it, so you check it out. So yeah, if you just keep going and keep going and keep releasing stuff, yeah, that's really true. I mean, I've been releasing solo music since the mid 2000s, and I was playing in bands before that too, and never really got really far. Like, the biggest accomplishment, I think, was a label released an edition of 1,000 CDs of my band, and we sold out maybe in like 5 years. And
wow.
didn't really do anything. And all of a sudden, like, I mean, Fire-Toolz is not like famous or anything. Like, I'm sure if you go to my Spotify plays, it's not anywhere near as big as like Death Dynamic Shroud and like Georgia Clan. And
I mean, that goes back to what I was saying, is people can love your music, but maybe they don't listen to it every day, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they just don't want to
I
ruin
was saying
it.
earlier.
I don't think most people probably don't want to listen to Fire-Tools every day, because
It's
Fire-Tools is an
challenging.
experience. It's like
challenging.
watching a Criterion
experience,
Collection 3.5 hour fucking Francis Ford Coppola film.
Yeah, right?
You can't just be
Exactly.
like, oh, let me go to the grocery store and put on Fire-Tools real quick, like.
I can imagine listening to it a lot of times in a row, because maybe you're trying to figure it out and it's like really
Yeah.
interesting, and stuff goes by really fast and you like want to hear it again. But I
Fire-Tools
really
stays
don't
on
think
during
it's something
sex.
that you just want to put on every morning for breakfast. You know?
Yeah, no, for breakfast with your bagel and coffee. Oh, you mentioned Death's Dynamic Shroud. Let's talk about them for a minute. Do you think that they would be where they are if they didn't continue doing things? James and
Oh, I
Tech
know.
and Keith,
Yeah,
they've been doing this since they're 14. They were like,
Yeah,
was like
nobody knew who they were at
15
first.
years into their career before people started paying
Oh,
attention
yeah.
to
Yeah,
music.
but
man.
and
They
then
did.
also Tech and James had been making music like before Death Dynamic Shroud. Like,
That's what I was saying.
for a
Yeah,
really
like
long
15
time, and
years.
Keith has been doing Giant Claw
Keith
and
too.
like bands before that for like so long, so it only makes sense.
Also, yeah, I'm sorry. It only makes sense, exactly. But and also if you keep going and moving forward, people might rediscover your stuff, right? What was my album, Glows the Melts? That's like years ago, and it just was released on vinyl now. It takes a while.
Some people won't
Sometimes
take you seriously up front. You've got to keep going, and then years later, someone will be like, "Yeah, maybe I should take that skeleton lipstick guy seriously because he's obviously still around."
Yeah, it's usually like there's usually like a 5
It wasn't
year
a flash in the pan type of
put out something, and when
experience.
people discover it, for me, that seems to be the thing. But I'm cool with that. I think it's fun. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's
but
happened with Mindspring Memories a lot. I put out probably like 10 albums before anybody was really like talking about it or anything, and then at one, I think what did it was that Elemental 95.
I was gonna say Mael introduced me to Mindspring Memories. Mael was always like, "Hey, you like Telepath? You need to listen to Mindspring Memories." And I was like, "I don't know about this Mindspring Memories stuff." And then I finally listened to it. I was like, "Jesus, this is good."
I love
I think that was the turning point after he got really
Bacon Wave and all that shit.
Yeah, that was cool. And then I think that's when it started. And now I work with like Geometric Lullaby a bunch, and starting to work with Wave Racer Collective, like
sick.
Once in a while, and like LSD Records sometimes, and Needle Juice is getting into vaporwave.
Ooh, yeah. Chris was just talking about
Needle
that.
Juice released my album.
They're the greatest people.
Oh God, I love them so much. By the way, the releases they put out in general, these are so high quality. Like I can't even fathom it. Like the cardboard is heavy and solid for these albums. The variants of the vinyl are beautiful. They have inserts. Like some of the best albums. Yeah, that's crazy. It's like some of the actual like best physical albums I have in general are from Needle Juice. Like they just do such a phenomenal.
They're the Constellation Records of vaporwave.
Oh my God, it's just so crazy how high quality they are.
Go through the discography. There's just a lot of different stuff. Like when they
I'll have to do that.
Up, I like couldn't believe they wanted to work with me. Like they put out like one of my like noise albums, and they didn't have anything like that on the label. They had like King Gizzard and like Lemon Demon and stuff.
Lemon Demon,
and I'm like, are you sure? Like I think I remember at one point being like, are you sure you want to release this?
Fuck yes, they do.
But they also released the Ohm album from Mindspring Memories, and they're just really like Houseu Mountain. Like I call them my label dads because they're like I just really look up to them, and they're such good friends. But like Needle Juice is in a strong competition with them.
Wow, I just can't
my
believe
favorite label people.
How? Oh, they're so great. I'm probably going to be releasing the next Skeleton Lipstick album with them, actually. They're just so great to work with, and they just released these pieces of art in such a beautiful, meticulous way. Like, I can't believe how, like, high quality, like the fucking cardboard.
You should include a crushed penny in all of your LPs.
Like the actual packaging and the printing.
They really, really like records. They're nerdy about them.
Love them.
That's a good sign with the label, because Houseu Mountain is really nerdy about records too, and they really care about the presentation, and they don't go all out to the point where they'll do like 12 different splatter variants, but they do really care about everything being snazzy. I mean, we spend so much time trying to work out the visual stuff every time we have a new album.
For sure. And this brings me to another thing too, is actually when, there's like this big push. Every artist wants to put out vinyl, and they want to do it right away, as soon as possible, and they just want to get it out there and get it done, so they tick that off the box, right? But they're just, I think that people really need to spend a little bit more time making sure they're ready to put something out that they really want to release on vinyl that feels like them. And also, when you are going to release on vinyl, you got to fucking hire an art director. You got to hire somebody who's going to organize the text for you, put it all together. I'm not even talking about a good cover art person. I'm talking about someone who can take all your ideas and all the things that need to be written on an album and structure it in a harmonious way. Sometimes I get releases from people, and it's just fucking like, I can tell that the person who put together the packaging for this is not someone who's a graphic designer, like not even like an art director. Like, it's just like they put the text over here and this is over there, and like it looks like they're just trying to get a physical release done. They just wanted something physical, right? It's gotta do more.
People can't always afford that, and
but it's vinyl, right?
DIY oriented scene, and people
I
have
agree.
to work with what they got, and I think that's
there's a huge upfront cost.
Because of that, when they're forced to do it themselves, because they're not like an artist, they don't even really know that their packaging looks bad a lot of the time.
That's the thing. It's like you're releasing vinyl now. You're stepping it up. You want to put out a vinyl thing.
Well, if
you don't have to hire somebody.
Yeah, no,
you don't have to hire somebody.
I mean, how good does a VHS still?
Like, and you don't, and like, it's just like this is such an important thing. It's going to be a test. This isn't even a cassette anymore, which is also should be put together in a harmonious way. But you can put out vinyl, like. Okay, you don't have to hire somebody, but if you're not going to hire somebody, do your due diligence. Just the same way if you can't hire a PR
Get
person,
Lunitas to do your
figure out how to do PR without it. If you're not going to hire an art director, then you should be grabbing your favorite albums, studying them, looking at the text, doing your homework online. You have the internet. You can research how to do this. You can find templates how to do this. And you should really put a lot of attention into it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to hire an art director, but then you have to be the art director. You have to really look at it with a fine-tooth comb, not just rush to get it out so you have a vinyl album. Take your time with it.
That's
you know what I mean?
true. There's also the idea that I think a lot of people need to do something shitty like a bunch of times before they start to do it really well, and we see a lot of labels kind of start like, okay, like when Aloe City was like one of the earliest like actual vaporwave labels that wanted to do physical media. They did a run of a couple of tapes for Mindspring like really early on, and they looked kind of sketchy. Like I'm pretty sure they printed out the J cards like from like an office printer, and it was supposed to be, it was like a run of 10 tapes per album too, so it was just a really like low-key DIY type operation. And now like this stuff is like, you know, much higher quality because they've built up a reputation, they've released enough stuff to get their name out there, they've built up a fan base and stuff, and now they can afford to invest in like good packaging and good looking stuff, and even like professional mastering. Like Aloe City has hired me a couple times to master some things, and that's something that most like new DIY labels aren't doing and can't afford to do yet. So I do agree with you, and I think it just takes a little bit to get there. You kind of have to fake it till you learn and build.
So
like
I'm gonna also say that when you're working with a DIY label, you know, it's kind of almost like you guys are a team now. Like, you got to work together. Like, maybe the DIY label can't afford to pay for everything, but maybe you can help.
You might have to kind of buck up a little bit.
Yeah. Artists don't do that very much because I think they feel entitled, but that's a really good idea.
So when I work with Needle Juice, right, they are paying to release the album, to put it out. I paid for mastering, to remaster it. I paid to get the art director, you know, and I did all my due diligence to promote things and to send it to people and to talk to people. But it's a team, like, especially if this is a DIY label, like, you guys, you're a team with them. They're not supposed to do everything for you. Like, I put my own music on Spotify. I mean, some labels do that for them, but I choose to do it myself. I'm trying to save that label money so that they can put into doing what their part of the work is.
The distribution part.
They're really prima donnas like this in fucking vaporwave that expect the label to do everything. Go fuck yourself, man. Fuck you. Whoever's like, I made the music. Yeah, that's a hot take. Go fuck yourself if you think the label should be doing everything for you, should get all your press, should do all your things. They should do some things. They should do what they can, but they're just trying to do their best too. And like, we gotta work together as a team. Like, you gotta do your part too. Like, it's all a cottage industry. Like, you're not the fucking Rolling Stones.
That can do a lot of stuff themselves and make it so you don't have to do much.
And that's wonderful.
But not all labels are
not all can.
Yet.
And even the ones that can, you should be offering to help with what you can help with, and that's not like a.
I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. It's your baby. Thing. Do you know?
But like seriously, man, if the artists in this scene think that their job ends at making music, go fuck yourself, man.
Not in 2020, 21.
You gotta work a little bit harder, because this is like, that's the only way we're all gonna elevate all of this, is if everybody's working together as a community and no one is a fucking island. Give me a break with that. These people.
Or hire a PR person.
Right, well, yeah, exactly. You hire the PR pro, somebody, you know, and once again, you know, it's just such a teamwork effort, man. Like I can't even believe people would be like, here's my album, and I'm going to go to bed now.
Well, I actually have a really good question for you, Angel, that kind of dovetails off of that. If there's anything you could change about the way the vaporwave scene operates, what would it be?
I don't know. I don't really have anything. I think people. All right, here's something. People take vaporwave too seriously.
Yeah.
Even the people that are. Okay, I think the people that are the most passionate about it, kind of like let's talk about like let's say the 100% electronica crew. They're really passionate about it, but they don't take it too seriously. They're having so much fun.
Yeah,
But
they're
I
bringing a
think
lot
that
of the chillwave acts on.
Some people treat it like it's a way of life and stuff like that. And I really don't want to disrespect anybody, I guess, but it's like, it's just like, I just think that taking it too seriously can lead to, it can lead to gatekeeping among other things. And also, I just feel like people sort of treat it as if it's kind of on like a pedestal and something kind of more than it is. Like, you can be in love with it and be passionate about it, but don't think of it as this, like, it is rebellious in ways, it is punk in ways, but it's just like, I feel like it's not as special as a lot of people think it is. Like, important, maybe, like, it's an important subculture, and it's been, I don't know, I'm trying to like word this without sounding insulting, but trying to get the point
I don't
across.
think it sounds insulting.
No, I see what
I
you're...
don't know. Some people, okay, I guess I'll refer to Twitter. Like, I see a lot of posts that are sort of really kind of like militant about vaporwave, and vaporwave sort of maybe politics or philosophy or whatever, and they're really gung-ho about their definition of vaporwave, like being the right one and stuff like that. And I just think that we could just kind of use the term lightly. I mean, in the bands that are like legit emo, like first, second wave style emo, like before it started coming in the mainstream, like those people don't use the word emo seriously. It was a describing word. It did refer to a type of music, but it's like, you know, they know that they're playing like post-hardcore, post-punk type music mixed with alternative rock or whatever. Like, they know what they're doing, and I feel like a lot of people are just like really purist about vaporwave and kind of treat it like it's this like
home resonance isn't vaporwave.
Anything more than like a subgenre of electronic music that has its own messages and its own aesthetics and its own sort of ideas and approaches and stuff like that. But it's I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to convey a nuance here, and I don't know if it's coming across.
No, so one of the things that I think about is like calling something vaporwave is sometimes the same as calling something punk. Now, a purist might say, oh, no, punk is only this three-chord structure. It's only the Ramones. But then there's like a lot of bands like the emo bands or the outgrowths from the emo bands that are like, yeah, man, this is punk for us. Like, you can use the word punk lightly to describe an umbrella of multiple different types of rock music.
Yes, you
right?
can.
That has a different type of thing.
And it could be a sound or it could be an aesthetic.
Well, you know, it's like like you got people just like, it's a paradigm. Stop
Or an
trying
ethos.
to like subdivide.
Yeah,
and
absolutely
divide it,
right.
Call it this or that. Like, just use it like a paradigm to refer to fashion, art, music, way of thinking, but don't fucking try and be like, no, only this. Like, that's so boring when you do it like
it's
that.
only
anyway.
skeleton.
It's silly.
And,
a couple of
Chuck
years
Person.
ago, my friend Kevin, who you all know, a Quip,
Love that guy.
I don't know if he still like thinks this way, because
Kevin's been on the show before.
It was a groundbreaking moment for me when he was telling me this. I don't even know if he remembers or even thinks this way, but he called vaporwave like a vapor sphere, and think about it as vaporous to where, like, okay, like imagine like Jupiter or Saturn, they're like gas planets. It's like, you know, the further out you get, the less dense it gets, and then eventually you're not in the planet anymore. But like, where's the line? When you zoom in, things just kind of blur in, like, so
I love that.
It's like a gradient. And like, that's how vaporwave is.
I miss the early
And I
2010s
think
when
that
everyone was making
personally-
sort of synthwave, sort of vaporwave, sort of chillwave,
Yeah.
sort of C-punk,
And
sort
I
of
think
witch house.
Fire-Toolz is in the outer, like way in the outer. Like, I feel like I'm barely in the vapor sphere. I'm definitely in it, but I'm like, but like Mindspring Memories, for instance, I feel like is really close to the core, because
It
what I'm
is.
doing, even though it is slushwave, it's still classic style. It's still entirely sample based. I'm basically doing Macintosh Plus, but with a lot more effects, and you know, basically as far as the approach. So I would feel like Mindspring would be closer to the core of it. And I think
Maybe-
that vaporwave is
yeah.
really cool like that because you can be anywhere in there.
It would be closer to the core in the way that, like, you know, the punk band that plays the 3-chord Ramon style band is closer to the core of punk than one
Yeah,
of
like the
bands
Anniversary.
is, right? Oh, yeah, I love the Anniversary.
I love the
Band
Anniversary too.
Anniversary?
That's a good album.
Designing a Nervous Breakdown.
It's an amazing album.
Band the Anniversary.
Yeah,
It
it's
was a
one
good
of my
album.
favorite albums ever.
Well, that makes 3 of us.
Fuck yeah, me too. Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw them live when they were touring on that
I mean,
album.
do the muscles
So
and
did
bones
I.
ever
They
just
were
in
touring
case
together.
your heart?
They were touring with the Get Up Kids.
They were
I just said that. They were
touring on Something to Write Home About.
When
They
mixing
were touring
electronic
Something
and
to
punk
Write Home
rock was
About,
new
the
and fresh.
Anniversary, yeah, exactly. And I remember the opening band for them for Philadelphia at least was Ultimate Fake Book, which I don't really know if they even released an album. Did they?
Oh no, they have a bunch of
They
albums.
did.
They weren't
They have
on
a
that
bunch of. Oh no,
show.
they do. They have Electric Makeout Party. That's right. They have a bunch of albums.
Yeah.
I just remember they only had a single when I saw them. When they poured with the Anniversary and Get Up Kids. I remember they had a little single for Tell Me What You Want. Wow, I don't remember why I remember all this stuff. Anyway, should we start asking?
Who else played when I saw them.
That
If you
actually
were
is a
in
good
Philly,
idea.
I was in Philly. So it was like 2000, I think, when they were touring for that. Maybe
I was
1999.
it was at 930 Club in DC for me. So
It was a
maybe
Trocadero in Philadelphia for me. Oh no, yeah, Trocadero.
yeah, I've played there.
Oh, you played the Trocadero? It's not around anymore. They closed it, I think.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, it's a
Um,
pretty legendary place.
Does anyone in the
Sure.
chat have any specific questions that they want to directly ask Angel before the show
Yeah, that's what I
ends?
wanted to get to because
I could hear it in your voice.
It's almost.
I know you guys are
It's
probably
getting late.
tired. I know you're
barely
tired,
woke up
Angel.
to that, and I feel bad for ignoring. People probably said a lot of things to me, and I don't.
No, actually, we've done
we-
pretty good tonight.
The chat is great. They're doing.
They
their
are
thing. That's what I
destroying
love this show.
C-Punk
The chat
right
does their
now.
thing. They talk too. Like it's a real dynamic show. It's fun. Anyway, the questions for
Alex says,
Isaac
what is the
just said.
weirdest location you played at a show? Any of your projects. Weirdest location.
I don't know. I guess I played a Fire-Toolz show one time in under a bridge in an indoor parking area, industrial parking area of like
Oh,
filled with
wow.
dumpsters, like in Chicago.
Wow.
There was like this fest. It was really great. Floor Baba, who
Oh, yeah.
is
Oh
pretty
yeah,
big,
Floor
based
Baba,
on
of
it.
course.
Yeah, they
Love
played
him.
that show. I can't remember if it was under that moniker or not, but yeah, that was cool. But I've played a lot of really weird old churches.
Old
because
churches
that
are
is a very
underrated.
easy building to rent out to do a show, and I've just played a lot of shows in churches, in a lot of like weird tiny basements, a lot of super weird bars in which I felt like incredibly out of place. And sometimes when you play shows like outdoor shows where someone's built a tiny stage and you're in the middle of a field or something, that always feels really awkward to me. Because there's like,
Right.
you hit the snare drum and it's like, there's no reverberation
Right.
until the sound like hits the trees like way over there, and it just sounds very empty and you feel very small, and it's just weird.
Somebody else asked, Zanrai Kid, what would you like to see from RPGs going for a retro visual style? What would you like to see?
I hardly play video games. I don't really, I can't really comment on that.
Chris, you don't really play them either, huh?
There's a choice few video
Me?
games that I like playing,
Yeah.
and they're mostly old. Like,
I don't play video games. I love video games.
I guess I'm the only big gamer here.
Okay, I'd like to say that I love video games. I watch the walkthroughs. I enjoy watching people play. I appreciate the artistry of them, and I like watching my friends play. I just don't play them myself.
You would love Final Fantasy so much, dude. You're missing out.
I can't do it.
You would
I
love
like
it.
watching
Video games.
them.
I like watching
love
them. I
watching
just don't
people
want to play them.
especially with like really nerdy games like Final Fantasy. Where there's a
I
lot of-
love
The stories
I
are
love
so
the Final
cool.
Fantasy games.
I
know
love-
they're
love
amazing.
watching
I love them.
Play WoW, honestly.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I do as well.
Play
Look,
WoW.
Angel and I love video games. We just don't play them.
No,
you don't
I
have to play them.
tattoos. I have
Look,
Super Mario and Super Metroid tattoos.
for sure. Listen, here's the thing. Not everyone. Isaac, you don't make music, but you love listening to
I'm gonna
music.
bring the flames
You have
GIF
to
up.
make music to appreciate it? No. I don't appreciate them either. I can
Yeah,
appreciate them without having to
actually,
play them.
When you put it that way,
I just
that
want to
really
share them with
reminds
you
me
so
that-
bad.
I'm not going to do it.
It
It's not my
reminds me
thing.
how much I love video games. Actually, I never really thought about it, but I
I did
really do.
yeah, when I was a kid, for sure. I do. I
I love
it.
the
I have great memories.
OSTs. I love.
Oh, and a lot of people
when-
don't have time to play
Super
them
Ghouls
anymore.
and Ghosts.
Good point.
Played Super Ghouls and Ghosts all the time. All kinds of games. Absolutely.
The only thing that annoys me is when my favorite YouTubers get really into Minecraft and then they spend all their time streaming Minecraft on Twitch and not making me videos.
True.
That shit pisses me off.
Yeah. Wait, more questions for Angel. Anybody? We're getting
Quiz says, what would you like to see in vaporwave live sets?
God, this is a dumb answer, but it's like whatever people want to do. I don't know.
It's not a dumb answer.
I don't know. There's so many different projects have different requirements for how things need to be performed. I don't think anybody who makes purely sample-based music should feel obligated or pressured to play a keyboard along with it. I don't think people that make music on a laptop and use Ableton should feel pressured to have musicians playing along with them.
Right.
I just think you should do whatever you want to do.
Get dancers. That's what picture playing does.
I think that anything you want to do is a great idea. If you want to go all out and like, that's cool too. Like I would like to start playing drums along with certain Fire-Toolz songs, but
You so should.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I have a general rule that I want everybody to do exactly what they want to do and how they want to do it, but I want them to do it well. Like,
true.
You don't have, you have to, don't get up there and be like, I'm just going to do this and see what works. But practice it at home first. See how you feel about it. Be comfortable. Think about the audience as well and what their experience is going to be. Sometimes I see people come on and they don't do that much, and that's fine. You don't have to do that much, but I don't know. Be aware of what you're doing and be aware of how it's going to be perceived, and I don't know, just refine the thing that you're going to do. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
I think
you should take pride in what you do.
Am I saying this right?
I think so.
Experience is really important in that. It's a really vital element. So there's a certain amount of this refinement that comes over time that you can't rush. But I do totally agree that you should practice and know what you're doing.
I'm gonna use George as an example right now. George is a professional, right? He has done this a lot. He knows what his limitations are of what he can and can't do live. He has worked with his limitations to curate a very good show. He knows he can't have a live band. He knows that he can't do everything live. He knows that he's going to have that sampler up there. Maybe he'll have a drummer. Maybe he won't, depending on where he's playing. So he's like, okay, well, let me get this light show here. Let me work on my stage presence. Let me work on my what I'm going to do to convey what George Clanton is.
That's why I use live production, because I'm working with my limitations and I want to provide other means of entertainment.
For sure, right? So that's the thing is people need to think about that before they get up there and start doing whatever they're going to do. Think about what you're but it's just really funny because George even knows now what to do with his voice, what kind of vocal pedals to put on it. He's a person who he's gonna he made a decision a long time ago that his thing was gonna be jumping around, talking to people, having his personality be an instrument live, right? So over time, for George, one of his instruments is the personality, right?
But he's just being an awesome entertainer.
Yeah.
I totally noticed that about. I've never seen. I never actually have seen a live set. I didn't even get to see him at Electronicon, but I've seen videos and stuff, and I've noticed that, and this is no insult because you said it yourself too, but I kind of noticed what George was doing and how he wasn't trying to really intricately perform this music for his fans. He was trying to put on a show and have fun, and probably was not doing a whole lot of super hands-on things to make things happen. Yeah. But I wouldn't want him to because
because it wouldn't be right for him. And the thing is that not everybody has to do what George Clanton does. He uses his personality as one of his instruments. You don't have to do that. Like you were just saying, Angel, you're going to have the visual. You don't have to. Not
that's other people on a microphone live between songs.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I think there was a question for you about what's your favorite from Pacific Plaza was just asking what's your favorite guitar pedal that you own?
I've sold a lot of them off because I use my computer so much, but the Earthquaker Devices C Machine is really nice. Probably the best. One of my favorite pedals I've ever had was the Empress. God, what was their chorus pedal called? Something Witch? Was it called? I don't know. something witch, I think. But it was a really beautiful chorus pedal. I was a nerd for chorus pedals for a long time, like boutique chorus pedals. But now I just use chorus plugins and emulations of my favorite chorus pedals. So I'm a chorus junkie because I love the 80s.
Nice. Any other questions? Do we miss any, or any other questions?
Somebody said, do you know a lot about religion and how important is religion to you?
I kind of wanted to ask that too.
Okay, go for it.
Maybe I think I know more than like the average like rando on the street because I'm like super into spirituality. But asking me how important religion is to me, to be realistic, probably not that important because I don't have like a lot of sort of religiosity in my life as far as like ritual and stuff like that. But I am extremely spiritual, and I love religion, and I study religion, and I apply a lot of religious teachings, and I have a spiritual connection with the divine, but I don't necessarily like practice religion according to the way they've laid out what it means to be a follower of that religion. So yeah, religion is really important to me, but I would say that spirituality is probably a better term. The religion is there as like a structure and like philosophy and theology, but the spirituality is more experiential. And in my opinion, if your religion isn't encouraging your own experience, then it's not doing a very good job. It's just a bunch of words and rules and things you're supposed to believe. So,
well said.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that we like to do towards the
whole thing.
We could pull a Keith Rankin and just ask if you believe in God. But
no, I don't have anything else to say though about that.
I mean, one of our favorite things to do towards the end of each episode is just give you the floor to say anything you want, shout out anyone you want, promote anything you want.
Yeah.
You can say anything you want.
Let's see. Well, I have a double album coming out in the fall.
Holy shit.
Double album
coming out?
Yes, but there are going to be a lot of singles.
Music.
Fucking prolific.
We're going to start putting out singles with music videos. Like,
hell yeah.
Every so often, coming up soon, up until Chicago. Why did I say Chicago?
That's
October.
really smart.
But I'm probably playing a release show in Chicago in October, so that's probably why I was thinking that word.
I want to say really quick that I really loved your last album. I thought the Spiraling Dynamically song is like one of my favorite, one of my favorite Angel, one of my favorite songs, honestly. And I know you said you didn't get a lot of press for that, which I'm going to give you the press right now. It's a magnificent album, and you can quote me on that. It's full of swirling textures that spin my mind every time I listen to it. You can use that in your press kit if no one has given you any enough good material yet. Please throw that on there.
My page where I list all my like press articles and clippings and
Skeleton
stuff like that.
Lipstick of Hot Takes podcast.
Skeleton Lipsticks gives some pretty good recommendations.
I'll write it out for you.
Yeah, that works.
Great reference.
Also, if anybody wants to pay any attention to me on the internet and know when stuff is happening, just follow me on Twitter or Instagram. Yeah. You'll find me. Just type my name into stuff and stuff will pop up.
You're also going to be at the live stream event coming up soon, right?
What is that? Maybe
Paradise.
Oh yeah. I have.
With Giant Claw and you as well, right, Dr. Chris?
Yeah.
Yes, with me as well.
I saw your Insta
actually.
story.
Right. Yeah, I just finished my set for that.
Just saying, I love that I got to open for you for Worldwide Wave. That CVN, both of you, that CVN remix. Woo. Fucking fuego. I think it was CVN. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Angel? Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, CVN, yeah.
It was an amazing,
I was
amazing set.
answering something in the chat.
That's okay.
So,
sorry, I derailed the conversation.
That's okay.
Well,
yeah, okay. I don't really have anything profound to say. Just like, I want people to connect with me on the internet because I feel like it's such a fight for attention out there with artists. So if you like someone, you should follow them so you get their updates because they probably really want you to know about them, and otherwise they'd get lost. So
yeah.
I'm a big fan of emailing lists. I have an emailing list. If you go to Fire-Toolz.com with a hyphen between Fire and Tools, or if you go to my personal website, angelmarcloid.com, there's gonna be a little form for like if you want to send me a message or be on the mailing list. So you can do that too if you like emails. I like emails. I miss emails. Social networking is a piece of shit. I just want to email people forever.
Right. A lot of people have said that. Ronnie from Vaporspace particularly would agree with you.
Ronnie from Vaporspace did the same thing. He literally said that exact. He's cool. We love Ronnie.
Yeah, he's
love
not far
Ronnie.
from you
He's
either.
so helpful. What a wonderful person.
Yeah,
anything else you want to promote, or are you good?
No, because if people connect with me on any of those platforms, they'll be able to see all the stuff that I want to say.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Perfect.
Cool,
do you want to
thank
go?
you for having me.
Oh,
Do you
it's
want to
been
go next?
amazing.
Shiro, do you have anything to promote?
Oh, not a lot. Unfortunately, I the VODs, not the VODs, but the videos for my my lovely set with visuals by the love of my life, Luxury Elite, is on my YouTube. The synthwave set I did for Worldwide Wave, opening for YouTube, and then the Witch House set that I did for
Oh yeah.
Homesick Fest is up on YouTube. 3 people won some hot take spins. I need to send those out. One of them is in Australia, so that shipping is going to be fun. The Sight, Sounds, and Conversations set that I'm working on got delayed a little bit for Codex Boy Encyclopedia. I have a VOD up on Twitch I did the other night. It's mostly like deep house, down tempo, a lot of Ground is Lava, Luzine, Holy Other, that kind of stuff.
Nice. Love Holy Other.
Man, me too. I miss him. And then other than that, man, there's some tentative plans to be on the next upcoming Homesick Fest in October with...
Nice. The Halloween one.
Yeah, I hope that's not a secret. I don't think it is.
No, I think that's...
And I'm probably going to bring another dark synth set to the show.
Sweet.
Because I haven't done dark synth in about a year and a half. Yeah, that's really it, man. I think I'm probably going to forget something, but go right ahead.
Okay, so as for me, of course there is, as we mentioned, what's it called? Paradise House 3 is on the 5th, is coming up this weekend, so I'll be performing at that. I've got a very cool set coming up for that. I'm going hard for that one too, with my visuals and the music that I'm doing for it, because I think that's going to be my last live stream set for a while, because we are doing live things again.
We're transitioning back to live things.
So speaking of that, July 30th in Davis, California, at Sophia's is going to be Terminally Chill NorCal edition. Normally, my wonderful person, DJ Fantacat, aka Agnes, she runs that one out there in Northern California for me. But I'm going to be flying down for the inaugural Terminally Chill NorCal. I'll be performing at it, doing a DJ set. She'll be performing at it, doing a DJ set, and our good friend Frank Job C is coming down, and he's going to DJ it as well. So it's going to be a phenomenal night. Everybody, if you're in the Northern California or the Bay Area region, come out for it. It's going to be me, Fantacat, and Frank Job C. A lot of fun, really exciting time. Aside from that, I have a single called This Will Not Be the Life You Wanted, which will probably take another 3 weeks to come out because it's still being mastered, and then I got the art is being still drawn up for it. So that might be another 2 or 3 weeks away from now. Also, of course, Glows the Melts is on vinyl from Needle Juice Records. You can get it in a glow in the dark variant, or you can get it in a blood splatter variant. In addition to that, there will be a song, the Vapor Pop compilation on Pacific Plaza Records will be coming out soon. I have a song on that. Also, I don't know when. I assume Winterquilt will be Will be releasing that remix album at some point soon. I have a remix on that. Pop Culture has a remix album. I believe he'll be releasing at some point. I have a remix on that. And Terminally Chill in Philadelphia will be coming back relatively soon, but I can't give anybody a specific date on that just yet. I'm in talks with the Barbary, which is the venue that throws the club that does the party. So they're refurbishing. They may be done soon though. So I'll follow me on social media for that information. And that's plenty.
Man,
for now.
I can't wait to get back to playing live shows, dude.
Yeah. And also tune into Hot Takes every other week.
Yeah, we don't know who our guest is.
Skeleton Lipstick Spotify playlist.
Yeah. We're also on, our podcast is up on all major streaming services now. We got Apple, we got Spotify, we got Podbean, we got what's the other one? Google. Thanks to Indie Advent for the help with that.
Shout out to Indie Advent for all his amazing work.
Indie Advent is the shit.
Propping up so many people in the vaporwave scene.
Yeah, for real.
Utopia District for life. Absolutely.
Yeah,
really good person, really
great person,
kind and sweet.
He was our first guest on this show, actually. Very first, our inaugural guest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Angel, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Angel.
I had so much fun talking with you.
What a beautiful talk we had, and I think everybody learned a lot from you. And I know I did, and everyone, I hope they had a wonderful experience listening and interacting with us.
My mouth is really dry.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
I need to drink like 12 LaCroix and then smoke 12 bowls and then go to bed.
That's a great night.
Hope to talk to you again very soon, my friend. And that is a hot take. That's a hot take.
Swinging around American flag, because that's what America's supposed to be. It's supposed to look like permanently chill.
The insurance commercial has a fat ass, but like no personality.
Yeah, I feel like sitting here and listening to this.
No, god damn it. Isaac, New Noise is not the first fucking refused album.
Rip Isaac a new one today. Do you know what I mean? Like...
Don't touch my records. Ever.